everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fourtress of, a podcast about movies and TV shows and video games and lots of pop culture and nerd things. My name is Oscar. I'll be one of your hosts today, and with me, per usual, are two of your other hosts. We got Devin and Brian here. Hello, everyone.
Wow.
It feels like it's been so long since I've seen you all, but it hasn't.
Has it only been a week? I can't remember. We haven't gone anywhere, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How are you, Devin? And you're in a new location, I think.
New location in the Redwood
Nice.
Forest, somewhere in Northern California.
Are you really in the forest? I thought you were just visiting
Yes.
there. I didn't know you were actually in the fucking forest.
Devin's he's where the chimps are at the end of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. He's
Yeah,
a monk.
basically.
I thought you were just like right side out of Portland because I saw you posted a picture in Portland, and I remember seeing redwoods just like that in Portland or outside of it.
Yeah, we were taking the 101 down south, and these redwoods are impressively big. I'm actually staring one out of my window right now, and this is a small one, but
I swear they're hundreds of
it's
feet
massive.
off. Like,
Right.
And we saw some big ones, like in some of the state parks, and it was like, yo, that's a wildly big tree. So I don't know, they're impressively big.
Nice. That's
and
hilarious.
then somehow still has the best internet out of everybody. What the fuck?
Right. I know.
I live like next to a whole store, like shopping mini mall place, and I don't got internet like that. And you were in the fucking dick
Literally
woods.
in the woods.
True. Yeah, I think it's fiber optic.
That's
I don't know how they did it, but yeah, who knows? Anyway.
It's probably because before that it was jack shit.
Yeah, I remember not even getting like service in those kind of forests where I got nothing. Like it was like you might as well be dead up here. No one would find you.
Right.
The only problem is we're about 30 minutes away from anything. We're like 10 minutes from like the little downtown. Like it's kind of like, well, it's not like Schitt's Creek. It's like more, I guess, rich liberal than Schitt's Creek. But like gas is so expensive in California.
It was like
hell yeah. I was about to
$6,
say.
and that's gone down a couple dollars since the peak of whatever we had going on here.
Oh my God. It's painful. So we have to go places to do stuff, but I also don't want to go places to do stuff because it hurts. Like like when you drive, it like hurts. Like you see the ticker going down, like no. So anyway, yeah,
You
it's
see the
rough.
dollar signs going up.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. All right. Glad that you've made it, Devin, in your new location. But with that, guys, we got a big show today, as listeners can see by the title of this episode. Shall we now get into our first segment of the week?
Oh yeah.
News talk.
Also, listeners, if you want to skip ahead to something or avoid spoilers, check all the time codes down there for everything. And yeah, just be aware. It's all down there. So first thing, last week, Nintendo had a Direct, and it fucking sucked. No, I'm not trying to shit on people who actually like
a lot of people are probably excited for a lot of these things coming.
Probably. Yes. We're not going to cover everything because, quite frankly, there was way too much, and half of them were the same fucking game, in my opinion. But awesome for those people that enjoy it. That's great. I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yums or anything. So let's start with the big one, the big announcement at the very end. We finally got Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, or what's it now called, Tears of the Kingdom, which I thought, like, that to me sounds like this is going to be a sad game.
What does that mean? Tears of the Kingdom.
I don't know. Yeah, because I mean, Alex, we'll have to get Alex's opinion on this next time he's on here, because I'm sure he threw a party once he saw and heard about this.
It's like, finally, man, people have been waiting for this game to be announced for not even just be like told of like release dates and stuff like that, but just to know that
know it exists.
This game is going to exist. And it looks like more Breath of the Wild. And I think that's exactly what people want. So hopefully it just expands upon the beautiful world that they already have in that game, because people really love that game. It's like a masterpiece, apparently.
Yeah. And it's coming out May.
Yeah.
It's coming out May 12th. Or at least that's what they say.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't feel like Nintendo's known to really push things back like talking about. So
Right.
I think that's probably a pretty solid date. Like the fact it's got pushed back as far as it did anyway, it's probably pretty out of character.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. Does any of us have a Switch? I know Jack has one, but yeah, so I guess we won't be playing. I'll watch from the aside.
Yeah. I refuse to get a Switch for the 3 games that I will maybe play.
That's kind of how I feel. So that's kind of the reason that I won't pull the trigger on it, even though it's only like $250 for the original now that the OLED is up.
I almost like I was close at one point to wanting to get it, but then I was like, nah, I can just wait till either it's cheaper or a Switch 2 or something better. I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair.
Do they have a Rocket League on Switch?
Absolutely, of course they do.
Probably, yeah.
Imagine Switch on the go, bro, with gyro controls.
That's all Devin.
Oh man, life changing.
That's all I need. I would just get different systems to give me more options to play the same one game. So
Right.
maybe that would be the only reason I would get a Switch.
Now Devin can play Rocket League on the toilet.
In the car, except not online.
Oh no.
Yeah, so as far as that was their big announcement, and even then it didn't show that much, but whatever. People were excited. As far as other stuff, yeah, like we said, it's a lot of farming simulators and lots of RPG type games that all seem very similar. I didn't have any opinion on most of them, but there were some other things that I thought looked cool. Like this game, it looks like an indie game called Ib. Had a weirdly interesting style to it. It looks like it was made for $3, I'm gonna be honest. But it's like a horror-y, side-scrollery game. It's got full of a bunch of different things in it and like scrapbook art, and like it looks pretty interesting. And if that game's good, it might be like one of those sleeper hits, which I was like actually interested in.
Like Undertale. It's a game that doesn't look like much, but ends up being like an
Yeah.
incredibly beloved
Yes.
game. Yeah, I feel like I've seen or heard something about this game, and like there's a weird backstory behind it, but I don't know enough
Hmm.
to tell it on air. Maybe I'll figure out more about it next week and can tune
Right.
in.
Yeah.
But I think this game has a weird past of existence.
Interesting.
Especially consider the trailer is only 30 seconds. Like
Right.
what the fuck
It's
is
got a
happening
weird
there?
name, so it just overall weird game.
I don't know
Mhm.
what's happening there.
The other one that I thought would interest you, Brian, as well as myself, was this Theatrhythm final bar line. It's like the Kingdom Hearts Memory of Melody game, the rhythm game, but it's like with Final Fantasy music instead, and it's
Hmm.
kind of the same concept, but also they were incorporating their say like other games music into it, like the Near universe, the Saga universe, Octopath Traveler, and stuff like that. And for this, I was like, apparently this is gonna be like over 500 songs, which I'm like, that holy shit,
That's way too many.
that's ridiculous. That's too many
That's
songs.
way too many. God, I wish it didn't have those ugly characters that they have when they make those like mobile games and stuff. It looks like the same as
Yeah,
what was that
yeah.
Kingdom Hearts
Mhm.
game that they had that actually had a story in it where you got to all be like Keyblade wielders. I can't remember what it was called, but it had the exact
Oh,
same
yeah,
art
yeah,
style.
the mobile game, the Union Cross
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
yeah.
You know they have stupid ass names. It
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, but you know I'm a slut for a good rhythm game. And Final Fantasy, they have amazing composers for Final Fantasy games. I'm not too sure about Octopath
Right.
Traveler and their other games that they've made, but Final Fantasy, I still listen to Final Fantasy 10 soundtrack like it came out yesterday. That's just me. I enjoy it a lot.
Hell yeah. So I thought that was kinda cool. They did talk about, GoldenEye is coming to the Switch on their little N64 thing, and I love how they advertised online play when everyone knows Nintendo can never nail the online anything, so it's probably gonna be
And they're
garbage.
only putting online play on the Nintendo version because it's also coming out on
Right.
Game Pass. What are they fucking the one thing that can't actually play online?
Yeah, that's a big
So
L.
I'm gonna go ahead and cross it off my list anyway. That's gonna be a dud no matter what.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. That's rough. I mean, cool for GoldenEye, but also I don't think people are gonna be excited to play that game
I'm
as
not
much as
excited to
they
play
think.
the one player. I mean, the game is crunchy. I don't know if anyone's played it over the
Right. It's
past
yeah.
decade or so. The game is really rough to play. It's just nostalgia for sure. But even
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
want to play the one player ever again. I've already done that plenty of times
Right.
on an emulator with a mouse and keyboard, which made it way easier.
I
Mhm.
literally wrote, "Fuck yeah, this is probably gonna be bad."
I don't know, man. Nostalgia
Yeah.
carries. Who knows?
It's true. It's true. They announced Pikmin 4. I've never played Pikmin, but cool for those people that like Pikmin.
I wanted a GameCube so bad for Pikmin when I was a kid, and that
Oh,
was the only game
really?
I don't know why I was so interested in that game. That's probably the first chore simulator game that I wanted to play, and I never got it. So I still have no idea what Pikmin even is. I just thought the characters are cute, I guess.
Yeah, it's like little like colorful things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you do in those games though.
I felt like it's just chores, but you just pick
Is
up
that
more Pikmin to do harder things. I don't know. I think there's a little bit of combat.
I genuinely don't know. I just know as much Pikmin from the Olimar, the character in Smash.
Nice.
And that sounds, wholesome enough to be a Nintendo game. So
Yeah. They showed a bunch of other stuff. One of them being Sifu was coming to the Switch, and it looked like crap. The frame rate was terrible, and you shouldn't get it on the Switch.
I mean, they're putting a lot of games on the Switch that are getting ported, and they're notorious for being lesser versions of the game. We were talking about that a little bit off air, that the game is usually just worse.
Yeah.
It Takes Two is probably going to play like shit because it actually gets frame rate
Yeah.
drops even on PlayStation 4. I played much
Damn.
smoother on the
ooh.
PC than I did because it's a beautiful game. It was definitely one of those games that were at like the peak of like we know how to put this system like to the test with this game. So you have to shoot it down. It's probably 30 FPS, crunchy nonsense on. That's a great game,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be lessered by that. Same with Resident Evil, another great game, gonna be lessered on the Switch. Look like shit.
Mhm.
Yep. Pretty
Sorry,
much. No, I mean, yeah, like it's that's fair criticism
Yeah,
though.
I hate to be that person because I do want these people. I want more audiences to enjoy these great games, but they're
Right.
not gonna
Yeah.
get to in the full version.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much Nintendo, but I did want to rattle off some of the names because a lot of them made me laugh because they seem like they just pulled them out of a thesaurus or a dictionary and said that's a good name. So here we go. We got I mean, Octopath Traveler. That was a big deal. The second one's coming out. That's its own name. Whatever. Various Day Life. We talked about that off podcast. That literally just sounds like a chore game. Various Day Life. Okay.
That's just what I do
Cool.
for the past 30 years of my life.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'm saying this right, so apologies. Atelier, Riza 3, Alchemist of the End, and The Secret Key.
That's all.
That's a Kingdom Hearts title if I've ever heard
That's a
one.
lot of words.
That's
That's a whole
lot.
sentence.
And then there's Master Detective Archives, Rain Code. I don't know. Okay. Cool. And then Radiant Silver Gun. These are just two words put together. Yep. That doesn't explain to me what the game is whatsoever.
Mm.
Thanks, Nintendo.
Well, welcome
Very
to
cool.
Japanese gaming.
Endless Dungeon. That's just the game. That's just the genre. Not I love Nintendo though. It's great. All right, moving on. Sony also had a bit of their own thing with their state of play. Also was kind of just okay. But the biggest thing, at least for me, was the end, was this God of War Ragnarok trailer. Man, I just can't. This game needs to come out now. Like, I'm set for this. This trailer looked fucking amazing, dude.
Hmm.
Is it allowed to be a game of the year contender this late? I think yeah.
I don't
I don't know
know,
if you have
but
it till
I feel like
November or it's till
yes.
October. They can still be game of the year. So there's another game that came out super late that wasn't able to be considered. I think last year, but I can't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be a contender for sure. Like
Hell
this
yeah.
game has a lot of potential to be one of the best games of the year for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, they may have given away too much, but I was still jazzed about that trailer. Like it looks so epic in scope. You see so much like Norse mythological things in it, and I'm just very curious. I did laugh though when they were like, "Oh, here's one more thing," and it was a controller. It was a PS5 God of War controller. I was like, "You did not end this. Please don't tell me you ended this on a fucking controller reveal. That would be terrible."
There was no
And
need.
thank God they at least showed a trailer afterwards. Oh yeah, that was quite funny. Other than that though, I mean, they showed off some interesting stuff. They announced Tekken 8. I haven't played Tekken since I think Tekken 2.
I was about to say,
So I have
whichever ones were still in the arcades. I
yeah.
don't.
So I okay, cool. Very excited for those
Tekken
people.
is known for having like the most cohesive. Like it has a Guinness Book of World Record for having like the most cohesive story for the longest amount of time or something. Something crazy
Oh,
like
really?
that. Yeah. So people really love the story of those games.
Hmm.
It's
Shit.
almost like an anime in its own right.
That's pretty dope.
It's kind of cool.
I'm still very excited about Hogwarts Legacy. Like
Hmm.
very like after seeing more of this, I'm like, this game's gonna be huge. And I'm gonna love and hate that at the same time.
I mean, I'd love to be immersed in that world for as long as possible, to be honest. So hopefully
Yeah.
this game
Mhm.
lives
It
up to its expectations.
I know, I hope it's not too much filler. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then Rise of the Ronin, I thought looked interesting. It's made by this people, Team Ninja, who made those Neo games. Sort of Soulsy games, but not quite, but just as difficult in their own way. But I like all these cool like Japanese inspired games that are coming out. Like starting with like Ghost of Tsushima, obviously Assassin's Creed we talked about last week's making one. Pretty cool. Very excited.
Definitely an area that I really enjoy. I like that span of time, like ancient Japanese stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, don't forget Stellar Blade. That shit looks dope.
I was gonna say, what was it called before? It was Project Eve. Now it's Stellar Blade, which
Not better.
It sounds like one of the Switch games.
Yeah.
I would say it just sounds like
And it is one of the Switch games, basically. It's like an incredibly Japanese game in every right.
Yes, but it looks dope as hell.
It reminds me a lot of like what Xenosaga and like Star Ocean probably wanted to be back on the PS2 of like trying to really
Right.
get that cool cyberpunky post-apocalyptic look to it. So I'm
Mhm.
excited to see that games are now able to like get close to that realization that they probably were like drawing and doing concept art for back in the day in games
Yeah.
like this. Looks fun. Combat looks Bayonetta-y, a little weeby.
It looks like a lot of dodges and jumps and slashes.
so
Yeah.
it might not be super fun to play, but the game looks beautiful.
I bet you it would be fun to play for like 2 hours.
Right. That's the thing. That's going to be
Like
incredibly
the first 2 hours will be dope as hell.
which a lot of games kind of struggle with that, and that's what's kind of disappointing these days. So we'll see.
Mhm.
Hopefully it's good. We'll see. It's yeah. That it was paired with that and a Synduality, which is another similar looking aesthetic game. Except it's more mechy. And you like running around a world as in like a mini mech, which looks kind of interesting. But yeah, that was kind of pretty much PlayStation's thing. We didn't talk about everything, obviously, because other things were there. They happen. I don't know what to tell you.
That's how life goes.
That is the news, everyone. We did it again. Shall we now move into our main topic of the week?
Oh boy.
Let's do it.
Well, we're trapped in this fortress. It's a similar fortress. Let's just get into it because we got a lot to talk about.
Is it actually two? Is it two fortresses this time?
It's two fortresses, two towerly like fortresses. Who knows? Because we're in the fortress of.
My precious, precious master's mean, and we don't like master.
Oh no! Oh my
You
goodness!
just got to skip the Hobbit parts. That's how you watch Lord of the Rings. You skip the Hobbit parts.
Yeah, listeners. So we're back again. We are doing the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers this week. We did Fellowship a couple weeks ago, and we'll probably do Return of the King in a couple weeks as well. Going alongside with the Amazon Rings of Power show.
Mm-hmm.
The three of us obviously have now watched this. Brian, this was brand new to you.
Very first time outside of cutscenes on a PlayStation 2 game.
Right, right. So with that, let's very quickly, non-spoilery talk. Me and Devin, I think we're on the same boat. I love this movie, all these movies. I know this movie is preferably most people's like favorite out of the trilogy, which I understand. It's got a lot of the meat without having to set up so much, and also without having to conclude everything. So it gets to it gets to be the middle. A lot of the middle chapters just get to do their thing, which is why a lot of people like them the most. I'll be interested to see what you guys think.
Oh, Brian, I'm really curious to know what you thought, just as a person watching it for the first time.
As a person watching it for the first time, I think
Wait, I gotta cut Brian off because I forgot Lieutenant Dandruff's here because Brian flaky as hell.
Oh
So
no! Listen,
I
thought we had more
air
time
my
to film
grievances.
this because we were supposed to go see it in that 1 week, and I was like, "Damn, man, I'm not feeling too good." Maybe next week, and the next week we're like, "We're filming it," and it's like, "Oh fuck." Oh shit! And I thought we were gonna film it Sunday and not Monday, so that's why I didn't recommend coming over yesterday.
It's all right. I had to roast you on the podcast for 2 seconds.
No, it's
so.
okay. I understand. Oscar was so excited to see my response to this movie.
He crushed my dreams like when Sam crushed Gollum a million times in this movie. So
that man was all hands that entire movie for no reason.
But yes, sorry. Continue, Brian.
I'm starting to kind of see a pattern in how I feel about this movie, and I'm thinking why I feel about this movie the way that I do. And I think it's just one, of course, it being I've missed the boat when it came down to it. So now I've seen different media that's kind of, like expanded upon what we see with this. But I really don't know how you can be a super fan of Lord of the Rings if you've never read the books. I feel really at a disadvantage very strongly in this genre that I would say like Harry Potter. You can totally like get all of the meat and bones of Harry Potter by just watching the movies without ever even seeing a book in real life. But I just feel so lost in the characters and the world building and stuff by just seeing the movie parts because something about it just feels flat to me. I can't really explain why it feels so flat, but it just doesn't. Even when epic moments happen, it still just feels, I don't know, almost like I'm watching a play more so that I'm like immersed in a world that I want to be. And maybe that's just because I just feel, and I think like things like Game of Thrones that are very character heavy like this, I think they have the love of being able to have multiple episodes, so it gives you a much longer time with each character to kind of build that. And I'm kind of not getting that, you know what I mean? Because like I want to be into these characters. Like I know like Bilbo Baggins and Gollum and stuff like that, Gandalf from reading The Hobbit. I read The Hobbit. And I kind of like that, like, oh, those characters stayed around and you get to see like what they're doing these days as characters get older and stuff. But then I'll see like a lot of the elves and things like that. And I'm like, I want to be so like, I want to love this story that's happening here, but I just don't, I'm not feeling it. I don't know if it's that, like, it should have plenty of time to bake because it's a 3-hour movie, but it still didn't feel like enough time to bake for it to be like meaningful to me. And that's kind of how I've been seeing all of these movies so far. So
interesting.
I don't know.
Interesting.
That's fair. Like, I mean, like sometimes, so there's some things for some people that are just like, it's not just their flavor. It's just, that's just how it is. I don't expect everyone to love Lord of the Rings.
I feel out of the loop though, because I feel like this is such a beloved series that I want to love it so bad, but it's just like something about it's just not clicking with me the way that I want it to. And maybe I need to, it'll be something that I'll rewatch later down the road, and a second take will be more favorable than this. But so far it's not bad, but it's not my favorite thing ever yet. I'm not instantly hooked. Like I want to do everything Lord of the Rings. I might read the books now just to see if that'll make me feel differently, but that's about the size of it.
That's fair, because I do think like similar to Game of Thrones, I think it took a lot of people up at least until season 2 to kind of really get onto that show, because the first season for some people it's a lot of character introductions, it's kind of jarring. It's like, wait, what? Who's happening? What type of thing? I know a lot of people that felt that way. So, but yeah, no, totally valid.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. Like, I think you're right that it is richer if you've read the books, but I would say that I think Lord of the Rings for me is the number one example of a movie adaptation that was arguably better than the books because, like, the books, if you want to talk about getting lost in the characters and getting lost in the weeds of the lore and, like, just random name drops,
That shit's
the
dense.
books are full of that. Like, the books, you get lost. Like, there's a whole section of like Tom Bombadil and the Fellowship, and there's like, you get lost, this son of this son of this, and like, all
Yeah.
the Rohirrim have the same name that starts with G. It's like, what is going on, man?
Yeah.
Like, there's
It's a
so
lot of
many
that.
characters at some points, and without being able to put a face to a name, you get kind of lost in the weeds. And a lot of the books are like talk about like how they're walking and where they're going and stuff, and there's not a lot of dialogue a lot, so you get lost in
It's mostly descriptions.
right. And to be fair, like I only read the trilogy once. I've read The Hobbit a few times, but I read the trilogy once when I was in early high school, I think, and I haven't touched it since because the movies are so good. So maybe I should go back and read them as an adult to see if I could like appreciate them more that way. But I will say that I think that I don't know. I just think that like the movies for me have done such a good job. Like probably I don't think there's any other media that I could point to that have done a better job adapting the source material to visual, like to a movie form than Lord of the Rings. Like every time I watch Lord of the Rings, I'm just blown away by like, how did this turn out so good? Like how did it not get like the budget cuts and like the kind of
Yeah.
mess that you hear about in a lot of adaptations, like where they have to cut stuff and they have to like change stuff for, whatever. Like it's just Lord of the Rings, like they didn't have to do that.
It was a miracle that they turned out this way.
It really was.
Like, there's a reason why it nearly killed Peter Jackson.
Right. And I feel
like
I feel like you do get the true like soul of the story through the movies. So if you don't like that, then you probably, it's only going to get more heavy in the books. So,
and I do
don't
think
know.
like they're probably in a different universe. There is an adaptation that is different, but maybe just as good or not as good or something. But like obviously this is the one we got, and like I would have been very interested to see what I thought of this as an adult watching it for the first time. Because obviously, watching it as a child, this shit was fucking dope, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I was all about this as when I watched this as a
Right.
kid. Like, this shit was amazing. But yeah, it would be interesting seeing it with fresh eyes as an adult.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think that I should go back and try to read the books someday as an adult because, like, I think there is a lot there, and you probably, I wouldn't skip like those pages that I used to skip because now I've read through the Silmarillion and like, kind of know more about
You
the
read through the
overall
most
lore.
boring of the
That's
books.
just literally reading an
Right.
encyclopedia, like a fictional one.
Yeah.
Basically. But then you understand kind of because like there's a lot in the books where you're like, I don't understand this. What is this? And it's like throwbacks to like stuff in the First Age and stuff to like
I-
what's happening now in the Rings of Power
and that's
show.
kind of what I feel like now with watching these movies. It's like stuff that it's like, oh, well, this is the kingdom of blah, blah, blah. And that's where son of blah comes from blah. And it's like, so I don't understand it. So it instantly becomes just flat, where it's like, it's nothing. It's like, oh, you can tell me all these things about
Mhm.
this kingdom. I don't see them on screen. And you've just said them in passing. So now I'm just kind of like, I guess I'll try my best to remember that. Yeah, that man with the blonde hair is part of this kingdom with that. His uncle
Yeah.
died and fuck, that sucks.
There you go. It's
Okay.
simple, Brian. The
Sure.
blonde-haired people are horse lords. Okay, the arrow people with the ears are arrow people.
I like it, literally to me, like I don't mostly see the difference between this and Game of Thrones as far as like people having to catch on to these families and things. I personally think like things like House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones were actually a little more confusing than this series was.
House of the
Mhm.
Like,
Dragon
when it
isn't
came
spending
out?
any time on anything, and I think that's its downfall right now. So I definitely agree with you on
So
that.
it's interesting.
This spends time on it, but it's still just I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just the way things are described
Yeah.
don't
That's
feel
fair.
like they matter. And I guess it's because a lot of the times they'll do all of that explaining, and then they'll just move on, and you won't even sometimes see those characters again. You're like, all right, okay, so sure,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I don't know. We saw him in a helmet one time, and then 3 of them got shot in the face, and we moved on. Like, move on,
Yeah.
okay.
Before we continue, listeners, we will do a separate extended edition section towards the end. Devin, so I'm mostly telling you, Devin, not just the
Oh wait, I have to
listeners.
remember the theatrical cut. God,
Yeah,
I have
don't worry, I'll cut you off if you get too far. All right, so we'll just say spoilers from this point on, just to be clear, listeners.
Let's get into some
Mhm.
story beats because I got some words for something.
Oh boy,
Ooh.
oh boy.
Not
All
like
right,
super strong, but
let's just start out with the opening, which I think obviously not in the book, but very, very cool fucking way to start this movie
The
off
most metal.
with returning back to the Fellowship with
Mhm.
Gandalf's death scene. I still think that looks incredible, and like the 20 years this December, this movie has come out, and it's kind of wondrous that it still looks at least this good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank God for motion
The
blur.
most metal fight in the entire trilogy.
Yeah.
Just like falling, shooting lightning at you with my sword, your demon thing, and trying to whip me.
That
We're
old
bouncing
man
off rocks and stuff.
was flying around like nobody's business. I know all his
It
bones
did.
are broken. All his brittle man bones. Jesus Christ.
When he flies down and catches the sword in midair as he's
Ugh,
falling, I was like,
so
"What
What
badass.
kind of
the
anime
fuck?"
shit is this? And I think I do appreciate some of these action scenes they do put in there like that, because I feel like they won't even waste budget on stuff like in live action movies anymore, which is kind of disappointing. Because I
Mhm.
love really
Right.
seeing stuff that's like, I mean, that felt pretty anime. Like it just felt like pretty. It was
Yeah.
very movement heavy and all the things. And I know CG can look pretty rough if you and like people don't want to spend a lot of money on it anymore. And that's kind of the downfall of CGI right now. But I think it was cool. You got to see Gandalf really be strong and do strong things instead of being the old man with the cane, talking in
Mhm.
riddles for a little bit.
Right.
And I
Right.
don't think if this movie came out in 2022, I don't think they would have done that at all. They would have done some weird practical effect and a bunch of screen
Mhm.
jumps, and it would have
Yeah.
looked pretty
It would have
bad.
been a CGI Gandalf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
it
the
would have
whole
felt
time.
so much cheaper. That's the one thing with Lord of the Rings CGI is always feels pretty good. And like nowadays, like and a lot of the media that's tried to copy Lord of the Rings, like it just feels cheap and like repeat. Like what's the right word here? Just like repeatable. Like people just copy each other, and it's just like, oh, I've seen
And
this
like
before.
I would also like to point out that like if I were to watch this again, like I watched this again in 4K, and there are definitely moments where I'm like, I can see the creases in
Mhm.
this 4K-ness because this movie wasn't made to be seen this way.
Right.
Mhm.
And so like there's a part of me that like Brian, I almost wanted to tell you to watch the DVD version of
The lower
it.
quality.
Because like and then there are times where the 4K it makes it look that much better. Mostly the character moments because it's all practical, it looks
Mhm.
that much better. But when we get into later like the big armies and stuff, it still looks good, but it's a little more like, yeah, that's clearly more that's computer generated right
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
It still doesn't take you out, but it's just different because this movie was made 20 years ago.
yeah.
Right, for sure. And that's the thing. Is like I think that if this had been a movie made now, they would have avoided any kind of movement. I'm thinking about like She-Hulk we've been watching recently. Anytime there's going to be a lot of movement stuff, you can tell they really try to avoid to show too much of it for that reason because they're scared it's going to
Yep.
either look bad or
Mhm.
it's going to cost too much money. And that really, I think, cheapens a lot of the moments that could be super cool in those things. So I do appreciate
Right.
them. There's been a couple
Right.
times I think in this movie, especially, that they definitely didn't go the cheap route when making those scenes,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's cool. I
Nothing
like
about
that.
Lord of the Rings ever felt cheap. And that's what I love about it. I also love how they crash into that lake that's probably about 10 miles underground. And then somehow they're fighting later, like when he's telling them what happened. And they're on the top of the mountain. Like, bro, how did you get
I love that quote where it says, and the lowest dungeon of the highest peak, or the highest peak of the lowest dungeon, one or the other. It's like, what? That is some like fantasy ass shit right there. What?
like they crash into that water and then it's just like next shot,
And
we're
then
at the top, we're at the fucking top
underground,
of the
he
mountain.
somehow manages to find lightning underground.
Yeah, man.
As one way.
That lightning sword shit was amazing.
Yeah. They were walking up each stair, just fighting each other the entire way. It was like a hike slash, melee at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I guess since we're talking about that moment when Gandalf's talking about this, obviously we know he's back. Let's cut to that real quick since we're kind of in that area. Brian, you knew he would be back,
Yes.
just
I
because
played the video game.
you've been in the
And
world.
he was the
Yeah.
character. He was the character that I chose. So yeah, I figured he
Oh
did.
yeah, Gandalf's the best.
I didn't want to have this conversation last week because in case there were listeners that hadn't seen this one yet and only seen Fellowship, I do wonder because I can't remember, to be honest, how people would have felt not knowing anything and thinking Gandalf's fucking dead. Like
Mhm.
that moment is incredibly sad if you don't know that he comes back.
I mean,
And
Yeah.
so
I think it's funny
yeah.
considering the Fellowship starts as 9 and then they lose 2 people instantly. And then 1 you get back and you're like, holy shit, he's back. And then 1 you
Right.
don't.
You don't. Yeah.
Mhm.
One thing I will say, and this might be if we ever do that best or worst trailers of all time. Two Towers, I'm sorry, you get in the worst trailer category
Oh shit.
because they show the reveal that Gandalf is alive in the
Oh
trailer.
no.
It's how one of the trailers ends. And I'm like, why would you do that?
I mean, they do have a lot of
Mhm.
dream sequency kind of stuff and stuff like that. So maybe they thought
Yes,
that was
but
gonna
he's
be.
dressed as Gandalf the White,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was very funny. I was like, "That's nope, you shouldn't have done that."
Also, when he comes back, he's just like Gandalf the White, just not as fun as Gandalf the Gray. Like, he's more
Yeah.
powerful, but he's just more of like he's more stiff, Like he didn't
Yeah.
have that same like banter that Gandalf the Grey had, where he just like casually roast people and like, kind of had that like inherent playfulness in him. But I guess the guy did fight a Balrog and die.
He's gone through some
So,
shit,
What I
you know?
say?
and when he comes
Said,
back, I mean, the Valar brought him back because he had a job to do, and it's like, all right, I'm business Gandalf now, you know?
Right. I do like though how they manipulate you a bit because earlier in a scene with
Mm-hmm.
Aemir and Aragorn when they first meet, Aemir is saying the White Wizard. They think
Mm-hmm.
there's rumors that a White Wizard, and it's like Saruman. As an
Yeah.
audience member, if you
Yeah.
don't know Gandalf comes back, I like how they plant that seed
Right.
early in the film, and
Right.
then later in the film, Merry and Pippin see a White Wizard. You don't know who it is,
Mm-hmm.
and then later when right before Gandalf's revealed, they had Christopher Lee, Andy, and McKellen say that dialogue. So there's
Mm-hmm.
this overlapping of both of their voices. So it's like, is it Saruman? Wait, what? And then
That was
obviously
cool.
not.
Yeah.
But I
That is
thought
so
the
cool.
manipulation of that was cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just see Devin smiling so much. He loves these movies so much, and I
it's
just
so good.
it's and that's I want to love these movies as much as Devin and Oscar do. That would be
Mm-hmm.
the best.
Damn. All right. Where's the time machine? We need to take Brian back to
I know.
his
We need Brian to
his
see this
youth.
as a child. That might be the only solution.
Maybe.
All right, let's go back a little bit. Frodo and Sam are lost because they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Who would have
Mm-hmm.
thought two hobbits that had never been out the fucking Shire outside of whatever can't actually find out a way to get to Mordor?
Yeah. What would the Vegas odds be on them actually completing their mission once they leave the others at the end of Fellowship?
No, I
Like,
want to know what the Vegas odds are be if Frodo went actually by himself he completed a mission.
oh,
Frodo would not get anywhere without
He would have
Sam.
died within
I'm
24
sorry.
hours, no question.
He
yeah.
would have yeah.
He would have gotten cold, like sleeping under a rock, and just froze to death. Like,
Gollum would have ripped his throat out
Gollum-
in
yeah,
the
Gollum
night.
would definitely
Gollum would have been
killed him.
closer to getting to Mordor than he ever was. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Which let's talk about him. One of the greatest CG effects of the time.
Mhm.
Still to this day looks amazing. Although like I said, in the 4K-ness, you see the creases a little more,
Yeah.
obviously. But Andy Serkis, man,
It was so good.
he needs all the props he can get for this performance.
It started his entire career of being the weird, like CGI monster guy. Where it's like, oh yeah, Andy Serkis, get him.
Yeah, basically. I mean, yeah, we don't get a Planet of the Apes without Gollum. Let's be honest.
Mhm.
And that trilogy is probably, again, like I've said in the past, up there with this trilogy as one of the best. So Andy Serkis, he knows what he's doing.
And when you watch the behind the scenes stuff, it is so hilarious. Like seeing them shoot these scenes with like it's just Andy Serkis in like a gray, like skin tight suit,
Like a leotard.
and just like writhing around and like trying
In
to
all
like
fours.
catch fish in his mouth and stuff, and like just like kind of on all fours going through the river. Like it was. I mean, he really got into character, and I respect him so much for
again,
that.
like he had to do double the work because like this was
Mhm.
before the motion capture stuff. He had to do it with the actors and then do it again later in a studio in one of those ping pong ball suits because
Mhm.
the technology wasn't there. So he had to do double performances of this thing every scene he was in.
Mhm.
And I wanted to get Brian's opinion on this as this being his first attempt. What did you think of the big Gollum character and his like reveal and just him in general?
I mean, I guess I know Gollum really well because he's become like one of those. He's the
Like a
detective
meme.
Right,
Pikachu,
right.
the baby Groot. Not as cute, obviously,
Yeah.
but like it's the character that made the most
I was
toys
gonna
and the
say,
most
not-
like line of stuff. Where like everybody
Not quite
knew
the same.
who Golem was, like or Smeagol
Yeah.
for a really
Mhm.
long time. So yeah, I guess I'd seen plenty of clips of him to be like, oh yeah, man, that's super cool. I guess that I didn't know his character as well as I thought I did. Seeing him with his dissociative identity disorder that he had and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Right.
That was interesting, but
Which let's talk about that. Let's skip ahead to that scene. That is one of the most iconic Lord of the Rings scenes, as that Gollum Smeagol scene where he's talking to himself. The editing, the back and forth is just so incredible to watch him do that.
Mhm.
Oh, it's nuts.
I think that's
and
I don't
just
know
ugh,
when we started doing that because it's become a pretty popular thing, especially with Moon Knight and stuff like that. We're dealing a lot
right.
with like mental health characters, especially ones that have kind of like a multiple personality disorder of some sort.
Mhm.
And I guess that acting it's not easy to do. It's already hard to act as one character, but to act as two separate ones at the same time.
Mhm.
And I think he pulled it off well. He seemed pretty unhinged and pretty deranged, and it was kind of
Had to be
interesting
a little
seeing
crazy.
what
Yeah.
was happening because he would always say "we" for the longest time before you actually saw him have like an actual breakdown. And it was like,
Right.
who is we? Are you talking about you in the ring? Like what's happening here,
Yeah.
friend? And then you realize
Yeah.
it's him kind of battling with his old self,
Right.
which
Right.
was kind of an interesting take on a character there of like knowing that
Mhm.
he degraded from something else. He wasn't
Mhm.
always this gross looking amphibious humanoid.
Right. Right. Like Frodo
Mhm.
says earlier in a scene where when you first get the Smeagol name reveal, he's like, "You used to be something sort of like a hobbit once before,
Mhm.
didn't you?" And he's like, "Oh, damn, Smeagol. I forgot That used to be me.
Also, fuck off. Say it's sort of like a hobbit. Man, it was just a straight hobbit. Come on. Fuck that.
That's the thing. I think they keep it vague enough to where you don't really know. But yeah,
Yeah, I ended
Yeah.
up looking up that information because I actually wanted to know. Because I remember seeing a screenshot of what like Smeagol actually looks like,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I was like,
Yeah.
that's just curious. I want to know more about the hobbits and stuff. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, got that answered for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we'll get back to that trio crew in a little bit. I just got a shout out to Aragorn and his trio of crew chasing down these orcs for like days, running for days, man.
Gimli was struggling.
Oh,
Man
poor
was struggling to get
Gimli,
on the
man.
horse. Was struggling to
Every
run.
shot, it's like, dude, John Rhys Davies is absolutely not running. Like he's like
That's
hobbling along.
why I need to make a specific shout out to his body double, his dwarf body double, whose name was Brett
So that's
Beatty,
how they handled
because
that.
he was the one doing all of the shit.
Okay, I didn't know that's how they handled it. I thought they were doing kind of like a screen thing to make him look just shorter than he
No.
was. Because I
Mhm.
noticed that in any wide shot when Legolas and Aragorn were running, he usually wasn't there, and I was confused. I was like, is Gimli just that far behind? I thought they were kind of trying to make that joke, which they might have been, but I also
Oh,
felt like they just
man.
didn't want
Right.
to show someone running.
You'll see that like in those wide shots, the big helicopter shots of all three of them running. Like that's not obviously the actor. Also because mostly they found out he was allergic to all the latex prosthetics that they applied to his
Oh
face,
no!
and so he was in it. They tried to get him in it as least as possible. So a lot of the action shots, obviously, and a lot of the wide shots is his body double.
Mm.
Wow.
And that dude busted his ass. Like he had like knee surgery on both of his
Oh
knees.
no!
Like everyone, we'll get into a lot of the injuries that all these people had during these
Two
shoots.
Towers got a lot of people injured.
A lot of people injured, but he was one of them. Like he had busted his knees and everything, and like
Oh,
he was
man.
running like his motherfucker. So shout out to him. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love that at the end of Fellowship when the music's going and Aragorn's like oh they're like Frodo's over there. It's like let us hunt some orc, and they're like all hyped up and they start running. You're like yeah, and there's like
Right,
cut
and then-
5 minutes later. It's like okay, we got a lot of gear on. Like this is kind of hard to run in.
Right.
They really made
There's a reason.
Gimli comedic relief really hard in these
Mhm.
segments.
Oh, yeah.
Which kind of disappoints me a little bit. I like him being badass and not so much just being like, haha, funny thing happens to Gimli. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
He definitely is comedic relief.
I just think they need to trade it off a little bit more. Maybe do it for other characters. Like whenever I saw them all three together, it was like Legolas does some badass shit. Aragorn does some badass
Right.
shit. Gimli can't see over the ledge, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
I was gonna-
okay, got you.
Although, man, this is the beginning of the true romance of these movies is Legolas and Gimli.
Mhm.
Legolas fucking loves some Aragorn. That is definitely some Sam
loves- oh.
level shit.
ride or die, ride or die.
But even Gimli, like later on when Éomer threatens to chop off Gimli's head, Legolas's bow straight to his face. He's like,
Mhm.
"You would die before your stroke fell," and
Right.
Gimli's like,
And they're surrounded
what the-
by hundreds of people.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love their camaraderie. Those trio, they love each
Just
other.
met
Dude.
and like ride or die. I would die for this man at any second. Okay, I mean sure.
Absolutely.
All for this little Bigfoot motherfucker that you can't even find. It's probably lost somewhere in the woods.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. I always remember doing that thing that Aragorn does where he puts his ear to the ground. I remember doing that shit in like middle school and gym class and like just lying, putting my ear to the ground, be like, they're coming.
He's a
I can hear them
fucking
running. They're coming
superhero,
out."
dude. That pissed me off.
He
That whole
is.
section of being like, oh, they didn't actually die. They were bound. And then they crawled, and then they got out, and they went this way, and I'm pretty sure they fell exactly here. And it's what? Where did you get any of that from, friend? I don't care how good of a tracker
Hey,
you are. That was bullshit,
He's a
dude.
tracker. All right, he was a
the
tracker
best.
when he was with the dude.
He's the best of
He's
the
the
best.
It just
tracker.
reminded me of when I was playing that game Disco Elysium, and I was definitely just drunk as shit, making up bullshit. But it made it sound super cool. Where my guy was like, "Oh yeah," and then the bullet came from here and hit right from this centimeter of this head, and it was just like, "Nah, bro, you're drunk. This is stupid. What do you mean?"
He wasn't wrong though. I mean,
He wasn't wrong, and he
wasn't
should have
wrong.
been. Cause what? I was surprised he
Yeah.
didn't taste the
Mhm.
dirt and be like, it tastes like it was 2 hours ago that it was touched. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, speaking of, so they're chasing the Uruks. Let's quickly get to Merry and Pippin, those Urukai. Again, this is just a nod to the practical effectiveness. The Oryx that are Merry and Pippin are on are wearing like 2 or 3 times size helmets because they're supposed to be smaller on their back. So I was like, so they got these 2 big dudes wearing these oversized ass helmets running in the heat. I'm like, God damn,
And I know New
man.
Zealand's probably hot as fuck.
That's just shit that they wouldn't do anymore.
Right.
yeah.
We didn't waste the
Yeah.
time with it.
Yeah. Of course, you get the classic, they're taking the hobbits to Isengard meme line, which I meant to send you, Brian. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Meat's back on the menu, boy. That's what I saw.
Meat's back. Yeah. Look up the Taking the Hobbits to Isengard. Someone turned it into a song.
Oh,
it's
no.
it's the best of memes from 2002.
That's funny.
It's like it's like early internet. Like, oh, this
Yeah,
is so funny.
very
They're like
early.
taking something from a movie and repeating it a lot. Oh, this is hilarious. Like,
Oh no.
Yeah.
and something now it's like we're just dead to it inside. Like,
Now our memes don't even
Yeah.
have structure. They're not even real. I don't even know it's humor,
yeah.
right?
But yeah, Brian, you alluded to it. Looks like Meat's back
Look
on
like
the menu.
meat's back on the
boys.
menu,
Yeah.
boys. I was like, what an orc say? Some shit like that? That doesn't feel
Oh, yeah.
right. That doesn't feel like some old English shit. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, it's so
Mhm.
funny.
that's like
though.
something like some fucking biker gang would say. What the?
They kind of are like a bad biker gang though.
I know once again that this is very tropey because it made the tropes, but I really
Right.
dislike how like they're humans, but they're not explored, the orcs, in a way that makes
Yeah.
me care about them. You know what I mean? It's like those are
They're
just
purely
those are just
evil.
pure
They're
evil
purely
dudes.
evil.
They literally,
Yeah.
because I know they did practical effects on the orcs. They look like fucking Power Ranger villains, dude. Because those prosthetics don't move very well, so their mouths don't move very well.
That's so interesting.
Except for the ones that they show really close up that have to actually talk to like the main characters.
Right.
Then it'll
Yeah,
be a
okay,
very
yeah.
like not orc looking character at all. He'll basically look like a human with some dirty face.
Mhm.
Other than that, it'll be like the most fucking mask looking shit kind of going on there. It's like I
That's so
really
funny.
wish, like, I get they're just baked in the oven and made to fight, but I kind of wanted them to actually like have more humanity, I guess. And I mean that's just me
Mhm.
loving deeper story.
That's what I'm
than
about to.
this.
Yeah.
So I'm not. It's not a criticism.
Listen, when I used to play with my Lord of the Rings toys, okay, I would always have like a story where one of the orcs, like the orcs after Sauron was gone, was like a good guy. Because like, it's like, what do they do?
That's kind of the thing too. Is like I know these movies are based on something from the 1930s and 40s, but like this
Right.
movie came out in 2001. World of Warcraft came out in 2004, and the way they treat orcs is incredibly interesting as far as
Yeah.
that storyline
Yeah.
goes. Like Warcraft 3 and stuff like that was even earlier.
Right.
And the
Mhm.
orc structure and political stuff and things like that would have been.
But Brian, I'll tell you the reason they didn't do it because then you get people like Devin complaining that it wasn't like the books.
That's fair.
But I also don't think that Tolkien ever really considered that. Like, I think that orcs and goblins and stuff, like, in his mind are just like,
They were monsters.
Right.
they're monsters. Like, they're not, it's not really meant to, in like, yeah, like, I don't think he ever really explored, like, oh, what about, like, what do the orcs do, like, when there's no evil lord? Because they're kind of like thralls a little bit. Like, like, the evil lord will
Right.
kind of control their mind a little bit. So I don't really know, like, what happens
They're
to the
literally
orcs.
born to do
Yeah.
the evil man's bidding.
It's a story of good and
Right.
evil, and that's it. They're not trying to explore
Yeah.
anything too
Right.
deep in that aspect of the world, and that's okay. That's just not the story they're trying to tell. But I do really
Right.
love, like, there might be defectors or stuff like that. Like, not everyone.
Right.
I mean, they
there's
did that in Star
nuance.
Wars. Not
Yeah.
every stormtrooper is born to be a fucking stormtrooper. Some
Right.
people
Right.
are like, nah, man, this actually sucks. I want to eat real food.
yeah.
Mhm.
Fuck women.
Right.
Agreed.
I don't know. Is that what John Boyega wanted to do in that movie? I don't remember.
I don't know.
That is a question I've always asked about, Lord of the Rings, of like, are they really, really evil? Like, could they ever be redeemed or something? But I don't know. You probably don't want to go,
That's a rabbit hole. Yeah, I don't know.
I just like political
Yeah.
gray area in my media. I
Yeah.
think it's a more interesting thing that everyone thinks they're the good guy, but this isn't like that. We obviously
Yeah.
know Saruman's not a good guy. Like,
Right,
Mhm.
right, absolutely. But going back to the ambush is cool. They take
Love
them all
the
out. Merry and
ambush,
Pippin
yeah.
escape.
Great scene.
That orc used to terrify me as a child. Not gonna lie, the one that chases them around into Fangorn, fucking terrifying, dude. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
But
He's a scary one.
going back to the trio, our heroic trio.
Mhm.
This is where I get to talk
Mary
about.
and Pippin are heroic. What do you mean?
Oh, that's true.
I don't know about all that. I feel like they get most places because they're hungry, honestly.
Yeah. But when Aragorn, after they meet Éomer and the Rohirrim, they
Mhm.
approach them because obviously lots of stuff with Éomer. He gets banished, yada yada. Because we'll get into the king and lots of that stuff in a second. But we get to this point where they meet them and they think Merry and Pippin are dead. And this is where I get to tell you about Viggo Mortensen badass moment number 2. So there's a shot where he kicks the shit out of a helmet and screams and cries and falls to the ground.
He broke his foot, didn't he?
They had to do that shot like 5 times because Peter Jackson was so like adamant. He wanted the helmet to try to get as close to the camera, like fly by it as possible.
Mm.
And like he was saying, like Vigo did it the first couple times, and he's like, it was okay. And he's like, I think on the third or fourth time, it got pretty close. He's like, okay, but he's been getting closer and closer every time. So if we do just one more, maybe it'll be perfect. He hit it. He lets out this scream that he had never done in any other take before. And Peter was like, whoa, okay, this Aragorn's feeling, this is good shit. Okay, he's feeling distraught. Like he thinks they're dead. Vigo broke 2 of his toes.
He was screaming
Kicking
in
that
literal
metal
pain.
helmet But I think it's amazing. He channeled that into his performance, and they kept that shit in the film.
I did. I
Yeah.
love how so many of those things are by accident. Because I did notice, I did
Yes.
like make an audible thing of like, oh, he kicked the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of like down in the dumps, kind of walking around, and he was just like, fuck. I was like, oh, okay.
That's real pain.
Yeah.
I didn't know you loved them so much. They're just some hobbits, man.
Right? So, but it like it
Mhm.
makes that scene like all that more amazing, just like the last thing we talked about in Fellowship when he almost died as well. But yeah, so Viggo Mortensen is just a pure badass. He is Aragorn. I think he's more Aragorn than he is Vigo, which is quite
I agree.
hilarious.
Yep. He'll always be Aragorn to me.
I only know him as Aragorn, so I can't think of anything else that he was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was quite funny. Obviously, then oh, I had to shout out the Rohirrim. A lot of the Rohirrim were actually women in beards because they had to find a lot of women that were actually good at horse riders more than men, so they had a lot of women in the Rohirrim, which was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Nice.
You don't meet a lot of horse guys, right? There's a lot of horse girls out there. A lot of horse
Apparently,
girls.
The equestrian bloodline goes strong for the women.
Mhm.
yeah. So I did not want to forget to shout them out because they had to go through makeup as well.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Also, Orlando Bloom fell off his horse at one point and broke a rib.
Okay.
And apparently, it's a funny story they talk about because everyone would just make fun of him afterwards because they just said he was whining all the time afterwards, and so like a couple days he would come back from set and they'd be like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Rib still broken? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You want to shoot the scene now, you big baby?"
Oh, different time for sure. Like
Yeah.
nowadays, like the movie's
Well, also
canceled.
because everyone got hurt, so they're all like comparing injuries. It's like, yeah, I'm hurt too, dude. My knee's broken. What do you
John
want
Rhys
from
Davies
me?
just breaks his pinky just to break something. Like, okay, fine. I gotta be in on this.
Yeah. Treebeard. Also, pretty
Mhm.
good effect. Voiced by John Rhys Davies, who plays Gimli. So that's cool that they doubled down on that.
No.
Mhm.
You don't like Treebeard,
I
Brian?
think they look stupid. I think they look really, really stupid.
You don't like that his name is Treebeard because he's a tree with a beard?
That's fine. That's not even my worst thing about it. Those fucking ints look really the eyes.
Oh, yes.
They look so stupid, bro.
They're
I think
trees. They're
that was the
tree
most
people.
childish looking effect I think of the entire movies that I've seen so far. Was that right there?
Treebeard is definitely the most handsome out of
Like
all of them.
ints are fine. Like I like the idea of that. We've seen it in a lot of this high fantasy kind of stuff. Whatever. I think it's a cool idea. Doesn't matter to me. But once again, I was like, damn, this looks like Power Rangers, bro. What is this? Why's the guy got
That's
glowing
so
blue eyes
funny.
like he's a pretty ass boy, man? What is happening here?
That's so funny.
I did not like the way the ints looked. I did not like it at all. Also, the lighting was really weird whenever they were riding on him. When they were riding through and talking to him, like the lighting was too weirdly backlit and too bright behind him. So it started making
Interesting.
things look very setish. So it made it look very much like, okay, they're riding a piece of wood right now as the camera bobs up and down on them. Like,
Funny
that's all.
enough, they were in very uncomfortable bicycle seats that they hated sitting on.
Mhm.
When in the shots where they're being held by Treebeard, they fucking hated it.
That sounds like it'd probably be miserable. But yeah, I definitely got it. Gave me that same feeling of watching the close up cutscenes of when Daenerys was riding on the dragon in original Game of Thrones, where it's like you just see her bobbing up and down, and it's like she's riding like one of those coin rides outside the grocery store. Yeah, it gave me that kind of feeling.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh,
That's so
man.
I did
funny.
not like the ends at all. And then,
Interesting. Well, we'll talk about how you feel about the ends, at least in their badassdom towards
sure,
the
sure.
end. We'll see how you feel about that. Back to Frodo and Sam. Frodo once again proving yes, I get it. The ring is heavy on his heart, but he's a dumbass for falling into the dead marshes. What a fucking moron.
I mean, Frodo does very little other than just be the kind of the what do you
Again,
say, the grunt
would
that can
be
carry the
nowhere
ring.
without Sam.
He
Right.
might as well just be a pack mule. He would have the same amount of effectiveness if he was just a dog that had
Honestly,
a backpack on.
Why didn't they do
Like-
that? Why didn't they just put the ring on like a little bird or something and put it in a cage? Because then it because it kind of seeps the energy from its bearer. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. If all Frodo does is just fucking get his ass kicked for all 3 movies and do nothing.
Yes.
And then he gets all the credit. He gets all the credit. But anyway.
It's funny because I did like the Wolf of Wall Street. Ooh, I know this part because this was definitely in the video games. This is the only scene I remember from the video games is maybe what's his face showing up, Gandalf showing up, and then him falling into the river. I remember that very
really?
distinctly. I was like, I've seen this part before. I've seen
That's
this part.
so funny.
I do like that
Yeah,
scene.
I
That's
remember,
very
him
creepy.
looking too hard at the one guy. Yeah, the one guy in there. I was like, oh, that's gross. and then falling in. I was like, yeah, I
That
don't like
scene
that.
used to terrify me as a child as
man,
well.
but it's so cool though. Like they all have like their little flames and stuff. I just thought that's another cool thing of like Lord of the Rings lore, where it's just like this epic battle that happened here 3,000 years ago, and then these all these bodies are still here. It's just
Now, Devin, tell me, is this the Battle of the Last Alliance or no?
it was one of the ones leading up to it. I think like because that was like a war.
Okay.
So like I think.
Well, I mean, just like in terms of geography, in my head, I was like, I don't know if this is the exact spot where they had that Last Alliance battle or not.
It might,
but yeah,
it might be, but I think it's one of the battles before the last battle because they pushed into Mordor, so like at great cost,
fair, true.
So like
okay.
this is like one of the precursors to that last one.
Right. Okay. Oh wait, quickly, Brian, you've probably seen them before, but what did you think of the reveal of the Nazgul riding a big lizard dragon?
I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, well,
Yeah.
that's different. We've seen them ride everything else, so then we see them pop on a dragon.
They got an upgrade from the horse.
Yeah, I was
They
like,
did get an upgrade from the horse, man.
You guys are fucked. Like, how are we supposed to kill these guys? And they do it. And I'm like, oh,
Whew.
okay. I guess 3 arrows does it. That's fine.
And I just like in that scene where they're hiding in the one bush in the entire marshes.
Right.
There's one bush, and the Nazgul's like, if anything, I feel like there's something hiding out here. I'm not going to check that one
Like,
spot where
literally,
they would definitely be hiding.
He sniffs, so you know he can smell them. And then he's just like, I don't know. It's just the water. It smell a little fishy. I don't know. Keep moving.
Yeah. Okay, I'm out of here.
I'm sorry. What's up? Like, okay.
And once again, Frodo about to put the ring on. Sam holds his hand to stop him. Frodo is an idiot, and Sam is his hero.
Frodo's
I don't care.
dumb.
But back to the trio. We talked about them meeting Gandalf, which was a great, cool reveal. I love his horse and his whistle. Fucking beautiful, like just incredible shot. And the music kicks in when they ride to Rohan. I love all that shit. It's so good.
Yeah, I think Shadowfax, him riding Shadowfax is a bigger deal in the books because like Shadowfax is like the king of all horses, right? But which you'd think that like Rohan would have a pretty cool relationship with Shadowfax.
You think
but
so?
But either way, But later, I think it's like more important in like Return of the King and stuff. But either way, Shadowfax, very cool horse.
Yeah. Back to the Frodo failure trio.
You keep saying trio, like there's not 3 different trios.
I know. There's a lot of trios going on. We got the trio of Frodo, Sam, and Gollum. Again, although this time, I guess Frodo gets to save Sam with that dope-ass elven cloak that turns them into a rock.
Blackgate, very cool.
Very cool.
Also, like, the fact that they were even considering going in that way
that
was
would have been the dumbest plan ever.
And the fact that he was like, okay, ready? We're going to run. It's like, what?
Yeah, like 3,
what
2,
about this
1.
thinks that's going to work out at all? Like,
Gollum was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Like, we got to go, all the gates open. Like, quick, it's going to close. It's like, bro, they're going to see you from like a mile away. Like, you're going to be running across 3 football field lengths, and they're going to see you from like, they're going to have like archers just shoot you down. Like, that is the dumbest plan.
You're not very fast because you're like 3 feet.
And then they slip in right behind these Easterlings who just turn around and like, okay, you're dead. Like, that was just like, one time Gollum came in useful because like, wait, got a plan B.
Although, a funny story, Andy Serkis accidentally ripped off Sean Astin Sam's wig at that moment when he pulls them. In one of the takes, he ripped his wig off, and I was like, "Ooh, that probably really hurt."
There's a lot of stay on glue on that. He probably ripped off a few hairs.
It's okay. You weren't an actor in Two Towers unless you got an injury, all right?
Until that's like your scar, your war battle scar. All right, let's go back to Edoras and Rohan. I love how Gandalf convinces them to keep his staff. He gets to keep his staff. And how Grima is pissed. He's like, I fucking told you. What is wrong with all of you? But that sequence is amazing when they're just kicking ass. Yeah. And it leads to Gandalf revealing that he's Gandalf the White to Saruman, who's taken over Theoden. And that, I still don't know how they fucking did it.
You have no power here.
Yes. Well, he beats him. And that change of Theoden to old, decrepit Theoden to fresh, young Theoden is incredible, man.
The way they did it is he did makeup in every stage, and then they just layered the footage together.
So good.
That was a decent effect. I did enjoy that one. Also, they reused stuff like that in a lot of other media after that. Dragon Age does something similar where they have the corrupted king, and then he becomes better.
Oh yeah,
I stole it from Lord of the Rings.
Probably. But yeah, I thought all of that was incredible, and you obviously we haven't really talked about Rohan as much. Well, we get the introduction of like characters like Eowyn, obviously the king, and Grima Wormtongue, who. You saw him in the street, you'd be like, villain, again. You're a bad guy. Jesus Christ.
Instantly distrust. His name is Wormtongue. His last name is Wormtongue.
Although, man, Gandalf was fucking handing him bars of insults. I got to read this to you because it is amazing. Gandalf says, well, when he first approached him, he goes, be silent. keep your forked tongue behind your teeth. And then he says, I have not passed through fire and death to bandy crooked words with a witless worm.
Mhm. Yeah, Gandalf is a straight savage when he wants to be.
It's like, damn,
Is Wormtongue, is that the dude that was hitting on little women?
Yes.
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 Just want to make sure.
Yeah, when Éomer's like confronting him, it's like, well, what was the price of you betraying Rohan? And he just
Yeah.
looks at his sister. It's like, come on, bro. Like,
that was pretty gross.
yeah.
Yeah. So Saruman gets his ass beat. Pretty hilarious.
Mhm. And then they don't kill Grima or they don't even put him in a jail.
Aragorn lets him go. He lets him go.
Why not put him in jail?
Right.
Why let him go?
Because Aragorn's too noble. He's too good. He said he's suffered enough. Enough people have suffered at his hand. Let him go.
Nah, fuck that.
Well, I guess no, because Theoden did want to kill him, but then Aragorn kind of like stayed his hand. But it's like,
yeah,
no, you should definitely kill him.
Theoden was going to execute him on the steps of the kingdom.
Which, like, yes, please do.
That's usually what happens with treason. I don't know. Maybe it's just
right.
me.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Obviously, Theoden does not want to fight Saruman. He's like, fuck it, we'll be fine. We're just gonna fucking chill here. And they're like, no, that's dumb as hell.
Yeah.
And so eventually they decide to march to Helm's Deep. And Gandalf's like, this is dumb as hell. I gotta go figure some shit out. Peace. And he just dips.
They always do that. Like Aragorn at Weathertop, like, okay, I gotta go survey the area, BRB. It's like, the Nazgul are here right now. Oh, okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
Like, people just love showing up right in the nick of time in these things. But anyway.
Yeah, man, that Deus Ex Machina shit. That's old school storytelling. The Lord of the Rings is like the everything about Deus Ex Machina.
Honestly.
Like, we'll talk about it at the very last movie. Like, come on.
Every single time something really bad has happened, and they're like, we're all going to die. Everyone is going to lose. Fuck.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we just happen to be around the area, and we saw it look like you guys need some help. You want to go? Okay, sure.
Yeah. Quick note on Edoras. I think because they shot all these movies together, so they shot the scenes from Edoras for Return of the King as well, which there's a lot of shots in there. But I'm pretty sure they built. I can't remember exactly what, but
they built. I think all of it.
Yeah, the whole thing is like real, but I just can't remember how quick. Like it was something crazy when in the appendices when they said like how fast they built that town, but it was fast. Like. And I think right after they were done shooting, they tore it all down like immediately.
Yeah,
like.
Immediately.
Yeah,
man, I would have sold tickets. What the fuck?
It's pretty sad.
They should honestly, they should have just left it up, man. Can you imagine? Like, I mean, there's already New Zealand already gets a bunch of tourism money, but like, if you had left that village up, that would be so cool.
You're gonna have to hire people though, because if you just leave it up, people are gonna destroy it. Insta. People suck.
Right. I mean, that is the thing. Which this is a bit of a tangent. They did because they tore down all of Hobbiton when these movies were done, but when they went back for the Hobbit. They did you talk about this last week with the Fellowship, Devin, or not? I might be misremembering, but so I'll repeat it again. How they rebuilt Hobbiton again for the Hobbit, but they made it so that it was sustainable. And now it's a tourist attraction, and you can actually go there, visit, and like rent out one of the Hobbit holes to live like a hotel type of thing.
Cool.
And it's
I love that.
Pretty cool.
Take my money.
Very cool.
Just shut up and take my money.
Absolutely. Cut back to the Frodo trio, and one of the most iconic lines. That's basically mean is when Smeagol is here, so he tells Gollum to fuck off, and he's happy. And next thing he does is he brings them some rabbits. And what does Sam do? He cooks them. And what does Gollum say to him? He calls him a stupid fat hobbit.
Stupid fat.
So mean.
They had a terrible relationship, them and Sam. Sam wanted to beat his ass.
They were toxic. They did not like each other.
Oh my god!
Cook your damn meat, bro.
For good reason.
Oh my god!
Like they both were completely aware of what the other one was trying to do. Like
exactly, yeah.
It's just Frodo's dumbass. It's like, no, come on.
That and potatoes, everything. Such a potatoes. And this is a funny story where Andy Serkis talks about it. We're not going to spoil anything in Return of the King, Devin. But we'll say at this point, and when Andy Serkis talks about the scene, there's a point where Gollum spits at Sam, and Andy Serkis loves to talk about how that's his spit. That's his real spit that when they shot it. So he's like, so that little bit of live action me is really in this movie. That's me. I get to keep that. That's my spit.
Oh my god.
That was very funny.
Yeah.
And then Faramir captures them. They see the Oliphants, which, it's an elephant, Oliphant, whatever.
Quick note. Okay, that was the most successful that you will see a military force on the good guys' side do in the entire
it's a great ambush.
Lord of the Rings trilogy. That is the best KD ratio that the good guys get was this ambush. Because good God, in every other battle, which I will get into at some point, every other battle, the good guys suck. I mean, it was an ambush, it was a quick and easy ambush. Just shoot them all.
Yeah.
They beat the shit out those wargs, dude. That was crazy. Once again, Aragorn was like, someone's here. It's a scout. And then everyone starts running, and all the people somehow manage to get away, all the women and children, even though they're on fucking giant hyenas or something. And it's like, how are you outrunning giant hyenas when you were literally on feet and also 3 feet because you are a child?
Yeah.
Also, how like Legolas breaks physics, like when he puts his hand on that horse, and then he goes the opposite way of the way you think he would flip on.
Why did they do that in slow motion? That made it look worse. That was really like one of my biggest criticisms of that scene.
I think it looks cool.
It looks
but
awful.
He goes the other way.
I love it.
Even like the cape goes backwards. Like it's just reversed. Like it doesn't make any sense.
I love it.
Because I thought he would like the way he grabbed it. It was like what with his right hand maybe, but I
it's
thought
like he has to whip his momentum both ways.
But it's like he pushes it almost.
The goofiest thing possible, and doing it in slow motion made it even goofier.
It's so 2002 though. Like this is right after the Matrix. Like it's so 2002, and I love it.
I'm surprised every music didn't go and slow down and go.
Right.
Like what
Between that and Legolas just like scoping from across the valley, taking out wargs with his bow and arrow is like amazing.
Always a headshot, no matter what.
The fact that him and Gimli even have a competition about like who gets more kills, like dude, it is obviously Legolas. Like every single fight, he bodied Gimli. Like Gimli, you just got an axe and you're like swinging around. Like
that one was mine. That's cool. I got another 20 while you were saying that, dumb idiot. And then all that happens then another stupid moment with Gimli where he gets just trapped in our bunch
comedy
of
Gimli. Yeah.
And then, he kills one, and then another one pops up. And that one gets killed, and that lands on him. Then another one pops up, and that gets killed, and that lands on him. It's just like, come on, guys.
Yep.
Let Gimli get a fight a little bit. Come on, man.
And then Aragorn dies, and that's the end of Aragorn for this show.
Yeah, that's it. He's dead.
Yeah, they love some false deaths.
Legolas was devastated, dude.
Yeah.
He was the first one to call him out.
He lost his brother.
Yeah. I'm kind of, and like at that point, it's like, do they even go? Like, I guess Gimli and Legolas are just like, yeah, sure. I guess we'll just go with you guys.
I mean, they're like, well, yeah, what are we gonna fucking do? So they march to Helm's Deep. Everyone gets to Helm's Deep, and they're fucking sad as shit. But Theoden's like, we gotta move on, bro. Like, we got people we gotta take care of. He was one dude.
Which fair. Yeah, this is very true. Which that's also a funny thing too. Is like, in all this commotion, how do you notice the one person missing? Like, all these people are dead right now. Right. I was actually doing on the ground, like, it's being fed water just to make sure he's okay. So I'm sure at least 18 other people were missing at least. And then they're just like, but Aragorn, where's he? And it's like, bro, where's Jeff? Jeff is dead too.
And Theoden's so nonchalant about it. And Theoden's just like, oh, damn, Aragorn died. And then, like, later at Helm's Deep, like, he's like, hey, Gimli, Aragorn, you guys should get out of there, like, as they're, like, holding off the bridge. And then he just puts a plank up and just like, well, good luck. I don't know how you're going to get out of there. It's like,
that's like I literally wrote down, I was like, Theoden, he says, get out of there. I was like, what do you want them to do?
He's like, I don't know. Puts that plank up, just like puts it like bye.
Jesus.
I love that shot
so
every
funny.
time.
Yeah, we'll talk about Theoden in that whole Helm's Deep battle in a second, because man, he talks a lot of shit for not doing much. Right. But so Aragorn is alive. He's floating down a river. Viggo Mortensen literally almost drowned filming this. Because
this man is a curse. Jesus.
Because he wanted to do it, and they were gonna have a double do it, but he's like, no, I'll do it. And so he did it, and then he got caught like in a current against a wall that just constantly kept pushing him down, and he couldn't get out. And apparently he's like, I don't know what happened, but I guess I kicked off the wall and I somehow find my way out of there.
He found like
he's like,
his foot found like one rock that he needed to find, and then he like pushed off and made it. But they had like divers that were gonna like try to get.
Does a man make other movies after this? I would have been like, I don't want to make movies ever again. This sucks.
Yeah, he's made a lot of indie stuff. He's one of those actors, but he's phenomenal.
Good old A24s. Gotcha.
Yeah. He bought that horse, Brago. Nice. That is his board. He ended up buying that horse after the movie. He does that a lot. He was in Hidalgo. He bought that horse as well, and he loves horses and shit. He's a
horse guy. I like him less.
He's one of yes.
When they shot Lord of the Rings, they would shoot 6 days a week, and on their off day, like the rest of them would like hang out and go to the beach and surf and do like different things together. Like Orlando Bloom was a wild guy at that time. He was like bald and like had a mohawk.
Yeah, he was like 21 years old, bro.
And they'd go like bungee jumping and stuff. And Viggo Mortensen is just like in true Aragorn fashion would just go ride horses on the range. He's like, I just like horses a lot.
Fish or some shit. Yeah.
It's always the weird ones that do the best work.
Yeah.
Except for what's his face that played the Joker most recently.
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto's the complete antithesis of that.
Yeah.
Oh god.
But we do get some Arwen stuff, which I always love to see Arwen. So basically, she brings him to life, sort of. She kisses him metaphorically, and he's come back. But you get a lot of background about how Elrond told Aragorn, "Hey, fuck off and leave my daughter alone, because she's immortal and you are not."
Which I mean, that's so unfair. Like I get that, like he probably had his heart broken a bunch of times, and that's why he feels that way. Because these humans are basically like dogs to you because you're
Oh,
immortal.
Elrond is so
It's like
cool.
loving a dog. You're like, yeah, they're gonna die way before you, bro. That sucks. But it's like, come
Right.
on, she has to learn herself. Like that's part of life,
Right.
man.
I'm
Well,
not
your
letting my
life at
daughter
least.
run away with some 2-bit man that's just going to
Right.
die of old age someday.
You only have to deal with him for like 50 more years, and then he's dead. Who cares? Like,
They even go to that flashback. He's like, he's gonna grow old and decrepit. His dick's gonna be old and decrepit. You're not gonna want to have sex with him anymore, and he's gonna die. You're gonna be alone and sad, and I'm not gonna be here to tell you I told you so.
man, Mr.
Yeah,
Anderson elf is so
like,
mean.
The
Jesus Christ.
savagery.
It's so
Oh
mean.
man.
It's so mean.
Yeah, Arwen's just in elf years. She's just going through her rebellious teen phase of like, no, I
Honestly,
want to
yeah.
marry a guy and
Right.
die.
Right. Yeah. A lot of Juliet energy coming from her.
Man, you don't want to die. Trust me.
Mhm.
But and so yeah, he basically, you see Arwen, she's gonna go with the elves. She's gonna go to the Undying Lands and leave Aragorn forever. There's a lot of Arwen we'll talk about in a second when we get to later events. Faramir, he learns about Boromir's death, which I thought. How do you feel about Faramir, Brian?
The only thing that I kind of wish they'd do that would made this funnier is make a situation where Sean Bean, Boromir dies, and then Faramir shows up and it's still Sean Bean, and it's like, I'm his brother. What happened to Boromir?
They're weird,
Like
like
they did in the Heroes. They did that in Heroes. Where Heroes, they had a character die, and then the next season they had the same that same actor play that character, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm her twin sister." It's like, why did you
that's
do
funny.
that? Well,
Oh
so I
my
thought the same
God,
thing was gonna
that
happen
would be
here, and then
funny.
just the nomenclature. People from Gondor apparently is just so fucking lame. I'm Boromir.
Right.
I'm Faramir. I'm Jeremir. I'm Jeffremir. Like, what is this, bro? What are we doing here? I don't understand.
Hey, Brian, I would say that's the equivalent of families nowadays naming all their kids with the same first
That
letter.
is true.
So
Yeah.
that still
Mhm.
happens today.
You're right. I don't like that either.
I will say, like, but for casting wise, like, I think Lord of the Rings is perfectly casted pretty much across the board. But like,
Yeah, he's
he
great.
looks like they do look like brothers, and like Faramir does look like, if you put him, like Boromir, Sean Bean, and Faramir together, like
They look like
they
they could
literally
be.
do
Yeah.
look like they could be. Like, he looks like his younger brother.
As
So,
someone that
yeah.
didn't know that reveal, during that first sentence was like, "Oh, so you're friends with Boromir, right?" I was like, "This is fucking brother." And he was like, "He was my brother." Oh, okay, got you.
Damn.
So yeah, they did a good casting.
I
with
wish
that,
I
but
could
yeah.
watch these movies without knowing everything like you, because like it's just like I've watched them so many times that like it's just, you're right, like it just like I mean I still love them, but like I can't not know these things anymore.
Yeah, I have a very unique experience because one, I'd never seen these movies, and two, they'd never been spoiled for me. Because when this movie was
Mhm.
big, I was a child, and the internet wasn't nearly as big as it is now.
Mhm.
So it just didn't have any real space to have spoilers. So like I have like
That's
yeah,
why I tried so hard not to let them be spoiled for you.
and I appreciate that. But yeah, it's like, outside of like no context memes that we've had for the past 30 years, I haven't really had
Mhm.
much that has exposed any of this to me. So I'm really
Mhm.
watching it with the most fresh eyes you probably could watch media right now.
That's why I think we kind of discussed this as another main topic of I'd love to watch these movies without knowing anything about them again
Sure.
one time.
Mhm.
We're gonna get back to Faramir and Boromir in our extended section
Uh-oh.
of this real quick. But I gotta shout out the Forbidden Pool and Gollum's song. Love the song. The rocking pool is nice and cool, so juicy sweet. I only wish to catch a fish, so juicy sweet.
Or you beating the shit out of a fish on the rock.
It's just-
Better ways to do this, Gollum. What are you doing?
And then you get the return of Gollum. He's back. Smeagol is now gone, and Gollum's back because he feels betrayed. And it's like,
Which, I mean, understandable. That was kind of a dick move, Frodo. You're kind of a bad friend.
Mhm.
yeah.
Go away and never come back.
Aragorn returns to Helm's Deep, and one of the most iconic shots is when he opens the two double
Mhm.
doors in slow-mo, dripping in sweat and everything, and it's just like, I'm here.
Insert the
bitches.
meme, holy fuck, pass me a beer. Like, this man, does he ever sleep? Like, he goes from like one battle to the next, to the next, to the next.
Does anyone sleep?
Aragorn's just always ready, man. He's like your workhorse running back. It's just like, all right, we need you to go in there all 4 downs. It's like, all right,
It
I'm
really
in.
is.
Like, yes, coach, whatever you
Also
need.
ready to die at all times. He's always ready to die. Come on, man. You don't have
Yeah.
to die. No, we're dying. I'm going to die with them. No, wait. Stop.
Yeah. And Legolas showing his camaraderie, love for him. He gives him the Even Star, the necklace back that he lost, and just shows. And Eowyn sees it, and she's like,
Damn.
oh. She's bitterly disappointed that this man can never be with her.
Right.
We haven't talked about Eowyn much, but I really like Miranda Otto as Eowyn. She does a
Mhm.
great job, and we'll talk more about her, obviously, in the third movie.
I definitely want to see her do some fighting because she looks like she used that damn sword.
Oh, buddy.
Let's
She's
see
gonna
it.
kick some ass, which I could just say it now because it's not part of the extended at all. She actually had a fight scene in this.
Oh.
They had originally written that she had a fight in the caves that she goes to later. Like some urukai accidentally get in there and they ended up cutting it and changing it, which is why you see she's got kind of blood on her hands later.
Mhm.
They cut a whole sequence where she helps a woman give birth who's pregnant in the caves, and then she has to fight a bunch of urukai in the caves.
Because that's what I expected to happen. I thought it
yeah.
was going to be a situation where she was going to be like, I can fight. And then he was going to be like, that's why we need you to do this. And then she was going to end up running into somebody as they're trying to get the women and children away. But then it's just like, no, we're just going to do it really easily, very safely. We're here. Made it. Thanks.
Yeah. Patriarchy stays undefeated for now. In part 2, it stays, unfortunately.
Yeah. But speaking of patriarchy, I will say that shot of all the old ass men and like the 12-year-old boys having to go to war is rough, dude.
Yeah.
It's a rough scene to watch, man. It's very like I could imagine Tolkien talking about the draft at the time. Like that's rough.
that was very World War-esque, stuff.
Yeah. Oh, when they put that helmet on that little kid and it like doesn't even fit his head, it's like, oh my god. Like, and most of these kids, as I will say in a little while, are probably dead. Like none of them live.
There's a good chance.
We lost a lot of bloodlines on that day.
It's real sad. It's real fucking sad. No.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's all happening, Theoden gives his great swears the horse and the rider speech. Great speech. Well shot. Amazing.
Doesn't Aragorn talk shit about it? There's that point where he gives the speech, and Aragorn's like, we're all gonna fucking die. And he was like, they don't need to know that because we gotta have the best damn battle.
Legolas says it.
Like, that's
Legolas is like, we're all gonna die.
He's like, I need them to fight as if this is the best battle. Always remember. Yeah. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Stop being a negative Nancy.
Right. Like, yeah. He learns his ways and he apologizes later. He's like, I'm sorry, bro. I wasn't thinking. It's all right. But when that happens, you get the reveal of the elves. Elrond did, in fact, send some elves, or told Galadriel to send some elves, and the elves show up. And my favorite bit of that is when Legolas, he's like, my boys are here, and he stands next to them like he's a part of the crew.
Yeah, and like the background, I like that shot.
Yeah, but I will say this is a bit. It's also I can talk about here because it's not extended. Arwen was supposed to be among them.
Oh.
She was supposed to fight in this battle. They shot a shit ton of footage of her fighting at Helm's Deep. And the reason they cut it and changed it was, and I'm on two sides, because one, I would love to have seen that. Thought it would have been fucking amazing. But on the other side, they made it so they didn't want Aragorn and Arwen to see each other yet.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to make their relationship different. I'll talk more about that in the third movie.
Right.
But yeah, little cool thing. Funny enough, in a shot when they're all escaping right at the very end of the battle, when they're all running for their lives into the back of the castle, basically, right before they charge, you can see Arwen. You can see her running amongst them in that really far shot where Legolas is still shooting down at them as they're all running away.
I've never seen that.
You can go back there. You can see Arwen running next to Aragorn and all of them.
That's really funny.
Oh shit, that's wild.
It's very funny. I'll show you. I'll send you like a screen grab or something later. But yeah, so I thought that was very interesting that Arwen would have been there. So sadly, they cut both ladies' fight scenes.
Right, that's a little disappointing.
Unfortunately, but I understand the Arwen one more than I understand the Eowyn one.
Well, that's always been like I don't know, with Arwen's character, I always kind of wish she had done more. But to be fair, in the books, she didn't like.
Shut up.
I know, but I do wish that Arwen was in it more because it feels like she has that one badass moment in Fellowship, and then she basically just mopes around for the rest of the trilogy.
Which in Fellowship, that's not even her. They gave that to her for the movies. That's actually not her either. So they added that to her. Yeah.
Right. Well, but yeah, Brian, we've seen Helm's Deep a million times.
What did you think?
Just give us the whole battle.
The whole battle, cut for cut, scene for scene. I mean, I don't know. It felt. I mean, as far as 2001 goes, it's probably one of the more epic battles we've probably ever seen to that date.
God, I hate that we have to start.
I know.
I'm still at that level where like when Legolas shoots that the rope out of that big ladder and he kills 30 of them. I'm like, that's so cool.
That's the thing though.
And Brian's just
another one of those things that now we've seen what more realistic to life battles go through. It just felt like a pretty standard heroic battle of and I know it's a lot of probably other movies just cheating off of this movie to do that. But it's kind of all the cool guys get cool scenes one by one, and then a bunch of people die, and it's like, oh, that's super cool. Then all the no-name characters you don't care about, they'll get hit off screen or hit for a second. They'll cut to Legolas again doing badass shit. Yeah, Legolas. Oh,
yep.
That's the kind of
skateboarding a shield
fan service
down a set of stairs.
Yeah.
And then he
Legolas surfing the shield.
He kick flips it into an orc, and it stabs an orc through the chest. He kick flips it, Tony Hawk's it
Seems
into an arc.
amazing.
20,000 points right there. Great line.
So amazing.
That was the coolest thing I had ever seen in my life until that point. All right, when I saw that movie, I was like,
and the music kicks in, like that fellowship theme kicks in as he does. Oh, it's so incredible.
The fight scenes are very cool, but I do think that when it comes to preference, I do prefer more realistic feeling stuff than just here's a scene of one guy killing 30 guys. Here's a scene of another guy killing 30 guys.
But I will say, like, as far as realism goes, I do appreciate how dirty and grimy this battle still is, though. It's not clean. It might be like good, the good guys are doing well type of thing, but it is not a clean fight. Like
they are doing well.
Aragorn? No, they're not. Well? They're not. You're right. I mean, in the sense that they're all alive, minus Haldir. Rest in peace, Haldir. Sorry, bro. Okay, you had to go.
This is my main point that I'm going to talk about this in Return of the King as well. This is the number one only complaint I have with Lord of the Rings. The only complaint. Okay. No wonder they're losing this goddamn war. Okay, the good guys fight like ass. The only reason that they had any advantage, like in Helm's Deep, if you take out arrow kills from this elven army that showed up, okay? Like, and first of all, so cool, the elves showed up. They killed a lot of orcs with those arrows. Yeah. As soon as they get on the wall, I counted, okay, I watched it again earlier today. I counted the plus minus KD ratio.
It's a KD ratio.
Elven army. Yes, the KD ratio of the elven army versus orcs. You know how many, and this is conservative, okay? It's probably worse, okay? But the plus minus is minus 10. Minus 10.
Wait, but did you incorporate Legolas with all that big ladder, all them kills?
No, because I'm not counting Haldir. I'm not counting range kills. I'm not counting Gimli, Aragorn, Haldir, because that's basically the entire defense of the wall is those four people.
Okay.
The actual elven soldiers are god-awful at hand-to-hand combat.
They didn't do well. They haven't fought in a war in a while. They're rusty.
But they're elves. They've been alive for thousands of years. They should be automatic.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's been 1,000 years since they had to fight.
Every single one of them. It should have been like that shot in 300 where they just like bust out and they go slow mo and they just kill all of them because they're elite fight. They're thousands of years old. Like it always bothers me so much when they just like that one naked orc like that gets up there and he's just like slinging that big sword across and kills like three of them at a time.
Yeah,
I'm like, come on, bro, you guys are better than this. I don't know.
It just bothers me because it was like swords. And you're like, oh shit, they're getting off the swords. And I was like,
they get slaughtered.
They suck. One guy runs straight onto a spear for no reason. I mean, come on, man.
That's a lot of them just crashing into each other. That's like typical old school war, though. That's all they've been.
Super scary.
For Christ's sake, in real history, we used to fucking stand in lines and wait for the other side to reload in war. Like, come on, I mean, they're dumb.
That was a really big thing in war, just being so nervous that the only thing you would do is just yell and then run. And it'll be the dumbest thing ever, so you end up killing yourself because you're so scared. Maybe they're like they don't normally die, so they're like, this is the time that I can actually lose my life. So scared.
Right. And elves, it's like you don't have to die. You could just not be here and you wouldn't die.
You can just not be here.
And they still fight like shit. Like I just like it. I kind of think that they were kind of going on like the elves are good at archery trope and something like that. But like they're all like thousands of years old. They should all be able to take on 100 orcs, 50 orcs at once and still win. Like,
but I would also say like when, and we'll talk about when the deeping wall explodes, that I could see that how that could rattle someone.
Yeah.
But before it explodes, when they're just landing with the ladders, they're getting their asses kicked too. So
and I think if the deeping wall hadn't exploded, I think they would have they probably would have won the battle without that happening. I think they would have been able to recuperate and be like, okay, we know how they're fighting now. We can figure this out. But then that shit happens. Like, we're fucked, bro. We're fucked.
I don't know. It's always bothers me in movies when like the main foot soldier always gets like only the heroes are the ones that get the kills, and then the main foot soldiers are just there to show you how they're like for the other side to get kills. So because like the bad guys, and it's very one-sided in Return of the King as well, which I will be counting the KD ratio. And oh boy, I cannot wait to get into that. But like I'm just saying, it always bothered me how shitty the elves were.
It's because none of them have names that are important.
It's another one of those tropey things that it's like, unfortunately, this is another establishing trope. Is they're basically superheroes. We have these three characters that are superheroes, and then we have a bunch of people that are just fodder. They're the police officers in Gotham City. You know what I mean? The worst job you could possibly have is being a police officer in Gotham. Like,
it's
like
after all
the Game
that
of Thrones
too.
does the same shit. Who survives every battle? Jon Snow. Like no one else. Like it's the same shit, dude. Like your heroes are gonna be the important people that don't die.
Yeah.
I do love the whole thing of Gimli and Legolas keeping score we talked about. We'll talk more about that in the extended
19, 20, 21.
So good. So good. I love how Gimli's like pissed off when Legolas is like, I'm on 17. like, what the fuck? Fuck this. Immediately hits a Urkai in the nuts.
And you're just sitting there at the end, like hacking each side of the ladder.
And like, but that would be cool if we were doing better in this battle. Like, don't keep score when we're losing. Like, imagine being Kobe Bryant keeping score when you're down 30. What the fuck? What are you doing? Like, yeah, bro, I hit 38 points this game, dude. Like, we're losing. Stop playing around.
Mhm.
Right. Speaking of losing, this is part 1 of Theoden being an idiot when the battle's going on and Theoden says, "Is this all you can conjure, Saruman?" It's like, Theoden, shut up. Stop talking. Stop opening your mouth, because the next thing that happens is a suicide bomber blows up your wall, bro.
That's some anime nonsense. You just got punched all the way through the ocean and died, and you're like, oh, I guess we're getting started now. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Right?
They've got more.
This is only 10% of my power.
I think they might. I can't remember exactly, so I don't not 100% sure. But I think they were worried, or they did have a little bit of a controversy, because this came out the year after 9/11, and they were worried that like, we have a suicide bomber in our movie, guys. I don't know what happened with that 100% exactly. I don't know if maybe because the internet wasn't as big as it was, that it kind of just went away. But I don't remember.
I think because Lord of the Rings is fantasy, it kind of dragged people out of reality. I feel like it. I never made that connection between like real life.
I can tell y'all a quick story off the air about another piece of media that was a lot closer to what happened during that time. Was going to come out during that time. If that had happened, Lord of the Rings wouldn't have mattered at all when it came to controversy.
Oh boy! All right, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that sounds like a good free for all.
Yeah, okay.
Vigo cracked a tooth during all these night shoots. So
Jesus.
He wanted to just glue it back and get to it, but they were like, "No, go to the dentist. Let's go. You'll be back in an hour." Come on.
So he definitely won the pain Olympics here. It sounds like.
Oh yeah. But I love that moment after the wall blows up, where Gimli is the ultimate best bud as well, and he jumps off the wall to save Aragorn, and it's like amazing. And then after that, the charge that Aragorn unleashes to go help Gimli, and they get out of there, and like they're all the three of them are constantly looking after each other, and I love all of them.
Oh my god, love it, love that. I'll never forget that skateboard scene.
It feels like a different movie than everything else. Like everything Legolas doesn't feel like it belongs in this movie.
Just wait, Brian. Just wait.
Including getting on that horse.
I want to know what gave Gimli the audacity to think that he could keep up, like in a kill contest with Legolas. Like, especially when he's doing shit like that. Like, Gimli, you got an axe, bro. That's all you got.
He's got the range. Like Legolas got the like. You can't keep up, man. It's
that one shot where he like puts his bow down, he takes out his 2 knives and flips them around. He starts like ching, like ching, like.
We talked about it last week. Yeah, he has style points for sure.
Yeah,
style points for Legolas. Definitely the most stylish fighter in Lord of the Rings for sure.
Yeah. Theoden finally goes out to fight, fuck up number 2, and instantly gets impaled. And he's like, I gotta leave, I gotta go.
He just, man, that boo would be sitting there. He ain't even shooting a bow or anything. He'd be sitting there just looking at the battle the whole time, like.
I mean, but throughout history, like that's how like the big people survive, right? Is they usually just don't fight. Like you don't come back because you're a better fighter than everybody. You come back because you don't do anything. Like that's why you're general commanders.
You guys morale, stuff like that. But yeah, he also had like the best armor. Like the rest of his, you look at the elves, they have some pretty cool armor. You look at the men, man, they look like they shopped at Walmart.
They
like,
poor,
bro, these guys
man. They got
trash.
Shit. They got 12-year-olds fighting their wars. What do you expect?
Yeah, they didn't look too good.
Oh God, I do love the callback to Gimli not wanting to be tossed because he's a dwarf, and then he's like, "Toss me, just do it. Just don't tell the elf, and just do it."
He's got to be strong as hell.
Yeah, everyone's strong as fuck, and also they're kicking ass. And like you said earlier, Theoden's like, "Yeah, get out of there."
Plank. Yeah, good luck. Thanks, guys. Good job. But yeah, it looks like I feel like they could have maybe let that go for a few more minutes. I mean, Aragorn and
true. They were doing
Gimli
some
were doing
work,
pretty good.
Dude.
Imagine how OP Aragorn would be if he just had like a shield. Like, bro would be invincible.
Aragorn is the scrappiest fighter. There's that moment earlier or later, I don't remember, when he punches a dude off a ladder and just goes with the ladder into a crowd. Like, he's nuts,
definitely got a
dude.
scoundrel way of. Man's got a death wish for sure.
He's a madman.
Mm-hmm.
That was also supposed to be Arwen with Legolas helping pull them up with the rope. I think they CGI'd her out of it somehow or something like that. But yeah, she was supposed to be right there. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Peter Jackson has his cameo. He has a cameo in all these movies. I don't think we talked about it in the first one. He's in Bree eating a carrot. In this one, you see him. He's chucking a spear. There's one angry guy who chucks a spear.
He kills a guy.
Of course, he lets himself kill a guy.
Let's just let's finish Helm's Deep before we get to the ends. We gotta move through this. They get their asses kicked, and then Theoden has another dope ass speech. When Aragorn's like, "Oh yeah, Gandalf said something to me. I should probably we should go now. This is perfect time." And Gimli gets to blow on that horn, and it's dope as fuck. And they charge to their quote unquote deaths. It's amazing. And then Gandalf shows up, and he's like, "Oh, yo, what up? Perfect timing. Deus Ex Gandalf. I'm here. Let's go." And again, one of the most cinematic moments in history of them marching down that hill, that very not realistic hill that all of those horses probably would have fell down.
That hill, like, I feel like the slope gets like more and more steep. Like every shot, like every cut, it's just like steeper, just going straight down into them at one point. But yeah, perfect timing.
It's so good. Like all that whole sequence is amazing, and then the sun shines and all that shit, and they're all. Oh, it gives me chills every time, dude. Shout out to the music once again, and then we get to the ends. Kicking some motherfucking ass. Saruman looks
pissed.
Worried as
I would
fuck.
too, man. You gotta fight some giant ass trees, man. What?
And okay, you want to talk about a good KD ratio? Good guys? All right, maybe they might be more efficient than the Gondorian Rangers because, like, I don't think a single Ent died here. They set one on fire, but then you see him later putting his fires out in the water. So I was always like keeping track of that when I was young. I was like, I don't want a single Ent to die because, you know, they were so valuable. But yeah, dude, they do some work on these orcs.
I do. One of the fun things I used to do as a kid, and I encourage anyone to do it. And during this sequence, just pick one orc and just watch him in those really wide shots. They look like little ants. Just watch one and just see what happens to him. See the journey that he tries to survive on, and he eventually just gets washed away.
Or like when they're all in that big like mill or something, and it's like it floats away like a dock, and it just like collapses. Like, oh, it's funny.
It's so amazing. Like even before that, when he talks about the last march of the ants, like it's all so like. Epic is
the music.
The music, and so then Merry Pippin are even chucking rocks. They're fucking Hawkeye with them rocks, bro. Like holy shit.
They like knock one down with a rock, and then Cheeber just like absolutely just smashes one with a pancake with his foot. And he's like, yeah, good job, guys.
Which would you rather be killed by? Would you rather be stepped on by an Ent or crushed by Gandalf and a million horses?
Ooh, the Ent's probably quicker. I think getting trampled sounds really awful.
Probably. Yeah. And then Sam gives what some would say, and I might agree, is the best speech in the entire trilogy. It's amazing. And he's the best human being in this fucking earth, dude. Like, it's so good. And he's talking about, like, the stories and, like, why, when we all thought, like, scary things would happen, why did the heroes keep going? And then by the end of it, he's talking about because there was something worth fighting for. And I think that's just such a good. It's in every like montage of like motivational speeches you'll find on the internet. But I think it's worth it. It's an incredible speech, and Sean Astin fucking nails it. He's so good. I could not talk about that.
Love that speech.
Faramir lets them go because he's better than his brother Boromir. And that's kind of the battle. I don't know if you guys had anything else to say for Helm's Deep or the Ents, but that's pretty much it. Let's get into real quick the extended stuff because there's little stuff and then there's major stuff. We'll probably only talk about the major stuff. Brian, there's an entire sequence with Sean Bean as Boromir in this.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's like an origin of him going to Rivendell in the first movie to talk about the ring. You see their father, Denethor, who you will be introduced to in the third movie, which is why I would imagine they also cut it. Also because, you don't there was a reason they cut it. It's a long sequence, but it's interesting because it's after Boromir has taken back the city that Faramir is in this whole time with that the Nazgul take out.
Osgiliath,
So Boromir's just taking it back, and his father shows up, and even Boromir hates his dad because his dad is a piece of shit, and he hates Faramir.
He's just a buzzkill, dude. Like they're sitting there drinking beers,
and he's constantly shitting on Faramir, and like Boromir's the best son. Faramir, you are a jacket piece of shit. Yeah, I hate you. But it's important because it shows that there was a moment, a fraction of a moment, where what if Faramir was the one who went to Rivendell? Because he says, I'll go. Because Boromir's like, I don't want to go to Rivendell. And so Faramir's like, I'll go. Because he's just constantly trying to please his father. And it does pose the question, like, what would the Fellowship have done if Faramir was there? And probably a lot better, let's be honest. Because he wouldn't have succumbed.
But it also might have gone the other way where he's like, to prove myself to my dad, I have to get this ring. So
maybe.
Yeah,
it's
you
true,
never know.
But I would say no, considering this is also an extended scene where he lets them go. Like there's a little more meat to that where he lets them go because Faramir's he's a more good-hearted, less ambitious person than Boromir was.
Yeah,
and I think it's incredibly cool that it's just very interesting to think about.
Wild move to let them go, and when there's like an impending invasion of the city, like pretty crazy.
Yeah,
one thing to combine like a little bit of book with that, like I'm pretty sure I'm not sure which book they mentioned it in, but like. I think in that battle where he took back Osgiliath, there was like this fight on the bridge to like push them back across to the eastern side. And Boromir, I think, like took on like 2 or 3 of the Nazgul at once because they were there in Osgiliath, and he was fighting them all by himself. And like people were talking about it. I can't remember what part of the books they mentioned that, but I'm pretty sure it's that same battle where like Boromir was like, BA as hell. So I wish we could see that someday.
Yeah.
In like, animation or live action or something. But
don't give them ideas to start making more series.
Yeah, there's a lot more of the Helm's Deep like epilogue. Like you see the Ents that Treebeard sends more Ents to Helm's Deep. So all the Uruk-hai that retreat from Helm's Deep get absolutely annihilated in the forest. And it's fucking hilarious.
It's awesome. The trees just start moving.
They just start, yeah, it's like, what the fuck? That happens. Obviously, yeah, Faramir lets him go, and Faramir finds out that Gollum is going. He's leading them to a path that Faramir knows is like, this is a bad way. And Gollum, if anything happens to them, I hope you have a miserable death, is basically what he tells him. They also cut a lot of Tom Bombadil stuff. They cut like a whole sequence that they kind of, he's not in it, but like a lot of the dialogue is lifted from that and put in there. With Merry and Pippin, there's a reason they cut it. It's not necessary or needed, but it is fun. And then, yeah, little stuff like Theoden's, actually, you see his son's funeral, and there's a little sequence there that happens. Although, there is one line that I did like to talk about when Gandalf first shows up. He says, I am Saruman, when they're like, they thought you were Saruman, and he says, I am Saruman, or rather Saruman as he should have been. And I was like, that's a pretty good line. Good job, Dan. Yeah, that's pretty much the most. Oh, wait, you do find out that Aragorn is 87 years old at this moment. Because that's when you find out in the extended that he has a prolonged, like a longer life, because of he's a special man. Basically,
it's a Númenórean.
Is that spoilers?
Yes.
Well, Dunedain.
No, not at all. He's just from a special line. You already know that he's the heir to be king, and they talk about that as well. But yeah, so he's 87 years old, and Éowyn, when she finds that out,
the fuck?
She's like, oh,
I like you a little less.
Okay.
Yeah, he fought with Theoden's grandfather or something like a long time ago.
Well, he fought with her grandfather, so Theoden's father.
Theoden's father.
What the fuck? This is news to me. This is really weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Aragorn fought with Theoden's dad because he's that fucking
what
old.
Fuck? What kind of Dragon Ball Z nonsense is this, dude?
Yeah, he's been blessed with long life, so he's not immortal, but he will live probably to like.
So this is even a better man for Arwen to date. Come on, bro. He lives at least slightly longer.
Elrond still said no. Fuck him.
God,
he said fuck him. No.
Most people probably only live to 50 in this world. Like,
it's true. It's very true. But yeah, that's most of the big stuff. Oh, I will say there is a conclusion to the Legolas and Gimli counting scene, where at the end, which this scene always bothered me because it makes zero sense. Gimli says the final count, or Legolas says his final count was 43, which I'm like, if he was at 17 in the first 10 seconds of that fight, how did he only get to 43? But anyways, it's funny. It's a cute little.
Well, the one thing I do love is in the count of that scene where like they're like Gimli's sitting on a body of an Uruk-hai. I'm pretty sure this is a war crime, but I don't know. And yeah, so I guess Legolas is 42.
Right. Yeah.
But then he starts moving, and then Legolas like he moves his axe a little bit in the Uruk-hai, and the Uruk-hai twitches a little bit, and then Legolas shoots it to be like, oh, that's my kill. And he's like, no, it's twitching because my axe is embedded in his nervous system. I'm like, yeah. I think that's like something about mutilating an enemy
corpse,
combatant's
maybe?
body.
I
Like, I don't know. We're sending him to Geneva. We'll let them figure it out. But
yeah. So that's the Two Towers. I'm so sorry we ran so long. There's a lot of meat to this movie.
There's a lot.
It's just y'all fangirling over it, and then I'm
basically.
here.
Yeah. But we hope we gave you some cool tidbits and behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, you know how we feel about this at this point. Go check them out if you want to. This was fun. Return of the King will come soon.
Oh,
who knows?
buddy.
With that, guys, shall we now quickly get into our final segment of the week?
Let's do it.
Which we like to call Free for All, title pending. This is a segment, listeners, where we can kind of do whatever we want. Rant, chat, have a good day. I will quickly go first because I finished watching Harley Quinn season 3 on HBO Max, and I fucking adore and love this show.
Ooh.
And everyone should watch it. I'm so happy that it did not get the axe that everything else is seemingly getting, and it is getting a season 4 confirmed. I'm so happy about it. Thank goodness. It's a great show. I think even if you're not a fan of DC, it's just well written. It's a very funny, well written show, and I love the direction that it's been going. And I adore the show, and I can't wait to see more of it.
It's funny because I keep getting mixed reviews about this show, so I'm probably gonna watch it no matter what. Just while I have HBO back, since I have it for House of the Dragon. Thanks, one show, for making me have another streaming service that I don't need. But But yeah, I do want to watch it. But I think I keep seeing clips on Instagram and stuff, and it seems hilarious. So I would very much like to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also hear people say that they don't like the way the humor is.
I could see
Mm-hmm.
if it's not your thing. Like, yeah, it's yeah. Humor is subjective. So if it's not
Sure.
your type of humor, it might not be. So
In my opinion, Rick and Morty is mid, but people love Rick and Morty.
see,
So
I love Rick
Mm-hmm.
and Morty. So maybe you will think this show's
I don't
mid. Who
know.
knows?
I like what I've seen so far.
Also, shout out to
Mm-hmm.
Rick and Morty season 6. I think 2 episodes in, 3 episodes in. Still funny show.
God, I wish
Love
their
it.
fandom wasn't
Mm-hmm.
so toxic.
I agree.
I can go, guys. House of the Dragon. Okay. I don't know that I've ever.
It's gonna be full of spoilers because I'm not caught up.
Oh, have you not seen it yet?
No, I have not.
Oh,
Oh, well, it's not a spoiler. It's just like a comment
Okay, it's all your comment. That's all good.
on like a character. It's a comment on the nature of a character. Is that fair?
Yeah, go for it. There's only one character nobody cares about right now. Let's be real.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I just am really enjoying Daemon Targaryen because, like, you never know what he's gonna do. Not
you're
even
a
just
freak
scene
of
to
nature.
scene,
You're a
He is
freak.
the king of never tell him your next move.
but
Yeah.
like not even like in between scenes, right? Like he's inconsistent within the same scene. You never know what he's gonna do in the same exact scene. Like he can walk over to this closet and either pull out like a bottle of like a beer to share with me or a sword to cut my head off.
I was about to say,
never know what
or
he's
he'll
gonna do
shatter that
next.
bottle of beer and stab you with it.
Yes, like I have no
You've
idea
been
what he's
friends
gonna
for
do.
30
And then you
years.
root for him, and then you root against him. You root for him
That
again.
is
You're
what
like,
happens
bro,
when you
what
have
is this guy
generations
doing?
of incest babies.
I don't know, man. I just love the chaos, and you never know what's coming next. Even like you never know what's going to come out of his mouth next. Like, I just love it. I'm really enjoying that part of House of the
So
Dragon.
funny because people were so scared of that casting choice, which he does still look funny because he just looks like the Doctor with stupid hair. He still got that big ass forehead. Anywho, but it seems like it's everyone's favorite character. Any meme that I usually see is about him and how just unhinged that man is as a character. Because at first I
Mhm.
thought he was going to be Joffrey but taller, and I was going to get disappointed by that. But it seems like he's definitely more closer to Ramsey, if
Yeah.
anything,
Mhm.
of just like this dude doesn't give a fuck about anything. All vibes, no thoughts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love it. I love it. You never
It's a
know
mess.
what's happening.
I guess he makes the show interesting, but in the worst fucking ways.
I'm sure once I catch up, I'm even gonna be more. I've seen some allusions to some things, and I think I'm gonna be more like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been interesting so far.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I guess I'll tell my last thing real quick. I'll actually go with that story I was gonna talk about Metal Gear Solid. I don't want to leave the people. It's about Metal Gear Solid. What I'm talking about with the 9/11 thing.
Oh, okay.
Because I watched this. Did you know gaming? Shout out to them on YouTube. Made this 42-minute special about all the things that were cut from Metal Gear Solid, which I thought was super interesting.
Hmm.
David Hayter actually was the one that narrated the whole thing, the voice of Solid Snake.
Oh,
Which I thought
wow.
that was super cool. It's really funny hearing him not put on a Solid Snake voice because he just sounds like some guy that slightly sounds like Solid Snake if you really like think about it really hard. But one of the things that happened is we know, of course, after Metal Gear Solid 1 came out and it was like a commercial success, everybody, of course, it was supposed to be like a one and done game. Hideo Kojima did not want to make another one. He thought that the game was fine how it is. He liked the way it ended. People were rabid for another one. So around 1999, 1998, they started working directly on Metal Gear Solid 2, and it was actually a completely different game that got scrapped. Hideo Kojima actually almost incidentally pre thought of the 9/11 attacks by accident, in which there was going to be a suicide bomber that did destroy the Twin Towers, and Twin Towers were going to blow up in that video game.
Oh,
Holy
And
my
then when they were
wow.
about
God.
like something like 6 months out from releasing the game, that happened, or maybe 3 months. I think it was 3 months that happened, and then he was like, "We cannot release this game. Like, I will delete this entire game, and I will quit." He was ready to quit Konami at the time. He was like, I'm not putting this game out because this will be a tragedy for it." So they hired this lawyer,
Oh, my
an
Right.
American lawyer, to kind
God.
of see what would happen in the situation, like if they released this game. And he was going to scrap the
Uh-huh.
whole thing, even though it was about 3 years of work they had gone through so far. But then his team just fought for it. They were like, "No, we can remake some things, we can redo some things." So actually, the story of Metal Gear Solid 2 is not the story that we were going to get with that, because it was 100% going to be
Wow.
very based in American politics
Wow.
and what would happen after. And also, the enemy was supposed to be the president, which was President Bush at the time, because a lot of Japan did have
Whoa.
criticisms
Holy
about
shit.
that. Probably they wouldn't have called him President Bush, but they did have criticisms about the American government during that time too. So
Wow.
it was wild what could have
Huh.
happened with that video game.
That's crazy.
That's nuts,
So yeah,
dude.
Metal Gear Solid
Yeah.
2. Metal Gear Solid as a series almost ceased to exist due to that. And we got really lucky with that.
Damn.
Holy shit.
Wow.
That is
So shout out
nuts.
to the team at
Wow.
Konami for talking this man down, because he was ready to quit it off.
I don't want to give props to Konami though. At this
I don't want to give props to
Like-
Konami as a company, but the developers, they aren't the people that
Yeah,
slighted
no,
Hideo
fair
Kojima.
enough.
So.
Yeah.
They're like, quick, throw in some Russians, throw in some, some
Right.
American nationalism bad guys.
Who do
Like,
people hate right now? All right.
Brown people
go with
number
the tried
8.
and true, like-
what do you do?
That's wild though. I never knew that. Holy shit.
Yeah, super cool stuff. So anyone I've ever interested
have
in
to
any
go
of that,
check
yeah,
that out.
it's about 42 minutes. It's a long burn, but Hideo Kojima's an interesting person as a whole because he's very Elon Musky in that he just
Mhm.
Oh,
he just be
no.
saying not so much in like being, well, he might be a bad person, I don't know, but he just be saying shit. You know what I mean? Like he'll just say
Right,
like,
right.
in this game, we're putting AI, artificial intelligence. You only have to use a controller. You just speak to your PlayStation. It's like,
Right.
bro, it's 2001. It's a PlayStation 2. We can't do that. And it's like he'll just say that, and then just that'll be the
Can't do
interview.
that.
No, okay, whatever.
He's got just to be in his brain for
Yeah.
30 minutes. Like, holy shit. He's got
Yeah.
such a.
I don't know if I
for
told you
real.
about how he wanted to make one of the fights in Metal Gear Solid 3 be a 2-week fight in real time. 2 weeks of real, because he wanted to be the most like a real sniper fight in real life. And when you have to actually track down the person, find tracks, look for things about it. But then nobody, and it's actually playable in the game. But the playtesters couldn't ever actually find the enemy. So they were like, this is stupid. No one wants to play this.
That's so funny. That's so
but of
funny, and
course-
I could totally see
Of course
that.
he wants to do some shit because he's
I could
crazy.
see somebody liking that nowadays.
Absolutely.
Like I could
not.
see people playing that game now.
I mean, isn't there like an infamous boss in like Final Fantasy 15 that takes like one full human day or
I
whatever?
would not be
Something
surprised.
like
Mhm.
I know Sin took
like a full 24
Sin in Final
hours.
Fantasy 10 took me like 2.5, 3 hours, something like that for the fight.
God
Yeah,
damn!
it's pretty ridiculous.
That's too much. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. All right. That's hilarious though. Cool. What was that thing again? So people can hear it. What was it?
Did You Know Gaming, a YouTube channel. They make a lot of cool stuff about
Damn.
just random facts about video games, and that was the most recent episode.
Cool.
I like hearing it from you instead, Brian.
I tell
you've
terrible
seen it
stories,
already.
but
I like the 42-second
Yes,
version that you
absolutely.
just provided. All right, listeners, that is our show. Thank you for listening. Feel free to email us at thefortresssub@gmail.com. Fortress spelled F-O-U-R. Feel free to email us any
Mhm.
questions, feedback, or recommendations, anything like that. Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram and the Fortress Sub YouTube channel. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat. Rate and review us, preferably 5 stars. Woo! Thank you, Brian, for the art. Thank you, Alex, for the music. Devin, thank you for being here as usual. You can find Brian at ITZ_, by the way, Alex at Peterson Films, and Devin, you can find him in the woods with Caesar, the leader of the Planet of the Apes.
Mhm.
Next week, I don't know. We don't know. Something. Who knows? We'll find out. And
Stay
happy holidays,
tuned.
everyone.
Mhm.
And put a code on. It's code out there.
watch House of the Dragon. It's got incest and a lot of people with white bad lace fronts.
Man, I
Mhm.
love the idea that millions of people around the world are attached to this show where it's all about incest.
Literally,
it
all of it,
blows my
whole thing.
mind that
And we're kind of rooting for it.
You know why this
We
is
kind
a
of
thing?
want it.
Porn.
Oh no!
This has led to this. This is what has happened.
gives you
to us.
brain damage. Don't watch porn.
It's
Heard it here
it's
first.
ruined us. It's ruined our lives.
It kind of like has you in your mind. Like, I mean, it's not that bad, right? Like the Targaryens all do
That's
it.
what I'm
like,
saying. It's
like,
ruined everything. All right, this podcast is over. We gotta go. We'll see you next week in another episode of the Fourtress of.
My precious. Master's mean. We don't like Master.
Smeagol. Stupid fat habit.
Potatoes.
Potato.
Potatoes.
Potatoes.